The first thing I saw was Linda's name. It was written on a folded cream card. The card sat in front of the best window. Beside it were two more cards: Amy Matthews, Gabriel Matthews. 3 seats together, all facing the dining room. Someone had placed little glass vases between them. Each vase held 2 white tulips. I stood inside Millstone Table with my coat unbuttoned. Behind me, the front door kept opening. Cold air followed every new guest inside. Nathan saw me from across the room. He stopped walking. For 1 second, neither of us moved. Then he looked toward the coffee station. That was when I knew he had expected me. He just hadn't expected me as his mother. But I should go back a little. That Sunday morning didn't begin at the restaurant. It began 3 weeks earlier in my kitchen. I'm Ruth Graham. I'm 72 years old and I live in Middlebury, Vermont. My house is 6 minutes from Millstone Table if Maple Street isn't busy. It's an ordinary white house with green shutters. My husband and I bought it when the kitchen still had brown linoleum. His name was Walter. He died in 2021. Afterward, people kept asking whether I planned to move. I never understood that question. My dishes were in that kitchen. His work gloves were still in a drawer. The bedroom window stuck every February. Where exactly was I supposed to go? So I stayed. By 2026, I had a routine again. I woke before 7. I made 1 mug of coffee. I checked the little thermometer outside my kitchen window. Then I wrote my errands in a blue notebook. I didn't need the notebook for memory. I needed it because empty days can spread out. A written list gives them edges. That morning, my list was simple. Pick up dry cleaning, call the oil company, return Nathan's invoices. The invoices were sitting beside my mug. There were 14 of them, held together with a black clip. Produce, linen service, cooking oil, coffee beans, and 2 repair bills. Nathan owned Millstone Table with his wife, Whitney. He was 46, she was 43. They had opened the restaurant in 2018. At the time, it felt like a family project. Nathan had worked in restaurants for years. Whitney understood presentation and promotion. Walter could repair almost anything with a motor. I had good credit and a paid-off house. That last part mattered to the bank. I was 64 then. The paper stayed in my home lockbox afterward. The bank kept its own copy. I didn't think about it every day. I thought of it the way you think about a spare house key. Important, yes, but quiet. The restaurant opened at 24 Maple Street. Walter installed shelving in the pantry. I washed glasses before the first dinner service. Nathan stood in the empty dining room and hugged both of us. "You made this possible," he said. He meant it then. For the first few years, helping felt different. If a server called out sick, Whitney might ask whether I could greet guests. If Nathan got behind on invoices, I would sort them at my kitchen table. Walter and I ate there every anniversary. They always saved us a booth. After Walter died, I kept helping. Maybe I helped more. At first, I thought they were protecting me from loneliness. Whitney would call on a Thursday and say, "We've got a private dinner Saturday. Would you mind checking people in?" I would say yes. Nathan would bring invoices to my house. Sometimes he brought soup. Sometimes he stayed 10 minutes. Then the soup stopped coming. The invoices didn't. I noticed it, but I didn't name it. Nathan was busy. The restaurant had survived difficult years. Whitney carried more attention than she showed customers. Those were the explanations I gave myself. That April morning, Nathan's invoice folder included a handwritten note. "Mom, please check the linen totals. Something looks off. No hello, no date, just the task." I checked them anyway. The company had charged the restaurant twice for 40 dinner napkins. I marked both lines with a yellow tab. Then I called Nathan. He answered over kitchen noise. "Hey, Mom, did you find anything?" "Good morning to you, too." He paused. "Sorry, good morning." The napkins were billed twice. I knew something was wrong. "You owe me a pastry." "I owe you about 400 pastries." "That sounds expensive." He laughed, but someone called his name. "I've got to go. Can you drop those off?" "I'm headed into town." "Perfect. Leave them in the office." Then he hung up. Millstone Table occupied an old brick building near the corner. The dining room had wide windows and dark wooden tables. Whitney had chosen pale walls and copper light fixtures. She was good at making the place photograph well. I entered through the side door. Nathan was carrying a tray toward the kitchen. He nodded when he saw the folder. Lifesaver. I marked the duplicate charges. Great. Put it on my desk? I can hand it to you. My hands are full. He continued through the swinging door. I stood there, holding his work. Whitney came from the reservation office. She wore a navy dress and low black shoes. Her hair was pinned back. Oh, Ruth. Good, you're here. Not hello. Good, you're here. She took the folder and glanced at my tabs. Did you compare these with March? No. Nathan asked about this month. We may have been overcharged then, too. You can compare them. She looked up. I thought you had the old invoices. They're in your office cabinet. All right. Her smile tightened. She placed the folder on a shelf. We're planning Mother's Day, she said. It's going to be a big one. I assumed it would. We're adding an early seating. That sounds sensible. And we need someone dependable at coffee. I waited. Whitney tapped one finger on the folder. The newer servers don't watch the urns. Then we run out during the rush. Are you asking me to work? Just keep the station moving. Maybe greet people too. On Mother's Day? You'd already be here. That answer stayed between us. A cook pushed through the kitchen door. Whitney stepped aside. I did the same. When the door swung shut, I asked, where would I be sitting? She gave a little laugh. We haven't finished the seating chart. With Nathan? He's obviously working. I meant with him before service. We'll see what the schedule allows. I picked up my handbag. I'm not working the coffee station. Whitney stared at me. What? I'll come as Nathan's mother. I won't come as staff. It's hardly staff, Ruth. Then one of the owners can do it. Her face changed. Not much, but enough. We all pitch in. I've pitched in for 8 years. I know, and we appreciate it. Good. Then we understand each other. Nathan came back through the door. Whitney turned to him immediately. Your mother doesn't want to help at brunch. He looked at me. I said, I won't run the coffee station. Mom, it's just coffee. Then it should be easy to cover. He shifted the empty tray to his other hand. Whitney's trying to organize a packed service. And I'm trying to find out whether I'm invited. Of course you're invited. Where am I sitting? He looked at Whitney. She crossed her arms. I told Ruth the chart isn't final. Nathan rubbed the side of his jaw. Whitney's handling the family table. That wasn't my question. Mom, where am I sitting? I don't know yet. It was an ordinary answer. That was almost worse. There were still weeks before Mother's Day. Maybe they truly hadn't decided. Maybe I was making too much of it. Then Whitney said, Linda needs a comfortable chair by the window. Linda was her mother. She was 68. That makes sense, I said. And Amy and Gabriel are coming. Whitney's sister and brother. Both grown, both healthy enough to sit anywhere. Nathan looked toward the kitchen again. I asked, so you know where they're sitting? We know they're attending, Whitney said. And you know I'm attending. She pressed her lips together. Nathan lowered his voice. Can we not do this right now? There it was. Not now had become Nathan's favorite answer. It meant the question was inconvenient. It rarely meant he planned to answer later. I left without saying goodbye. Outside, the air smelled like wet pavement. I sat in my car but didn't start it. Through the front window, I saw Whitney move a table. She put 3 chairs along one side. Then she stood back and looked at them. I couldn't tell whether those chairs meant anything. I only knew she had found time to move them. My phone rang before I reached home. Nathan. I let it ring twice. Hello? Mom, Whitney's upset. I gathered that. She feels like you embarrassed her. There was no one there. Staff were there. Staff heard me decline a work assignment. You're making it sound formal. It became formal when you expected me to work. He sighed. Can we start over? Certainly. Invite me to Mother's Day brunch. You're invited. Directly. What does that mean? It means tell me when to arrive. Tell me where I'll sit. Don't hand me an apron. We don't have aprons at the coffee station. I closed my eyes. That's what you heard. No, I'm just saying. Then say the rest. He was quiet. Behind him, I could hear metal pans knocking together. Finally, he said, "Come at 9:30. We'll figure out the seat." "Why can't you answer that part?" "Because Whitney has the chart. You're also an owner. This isn't about ownership. No, it's about whether you'll ask your wife a question." He lowered his voice again. "Her family matters to the restaurant." I waited. He seemed to realize what he had said. I mean, they're involved in the image. Linda comes to events. Amy posts about us. Gabriel knows people. And I check invoices. "That isn't what I meant." "What did you mean? I have to go." "Nathan, we're announcing the patio expansion that morning. There's a lot happening." That was the first I'd heard about an announcement. "What expansion?" "The back patio. We've been planning it for months." "With what money?" He didn't answer immediately. The restaurant had done well, but not that well. I knew their bills. I knew what remained after payroll. "We've got financing lined up," he said. "What financing?" "A new bank advance." I looked toward the hallway. My lockbox was in the closet there. Under the same restaurant loan? "It's normal, Mom. I didn't ask whether it was normal. We're not doing this over the phone. You called me." "To talk about brunch." "No. You called because Whitney was upset." He breathed out hard. "The bank paperwork is being handled." "Does it involve my guarantee?" "It's the existing arrangement." That was not a no. I held the phone against my ear. My coffee sat untouched beside me. A thin skin had formed across the top. "How much are you borrowing? We haven't closed yet." "How much? 80,000? I set my free hand flat on the table. "And when were you planning to tell me?" "It's not a new guarantee." "That wasn't my question. The bank has already reviewed everything. With you, yes, not with me." Kevin Davis was the bank's commercial loan officer. I had met him when the restaurant opened. Nathan kept talking. "It's for the patio. More seats mean more summer revenue. This helps everybody." "Everybody?" "You know what I mean." I looked at Nathan's note beside the invoices. "Mom, please check the linen totals." He trusted me with duplicate napkins. He had not trusted me with $80,000 tied to my name. "When does it close?" I asked. "May 15th. Mother's Day came before that. The brunch wasn't only a family event. It was where they planned to celebrate money they expected my name to support. Nathan said, "Please don't turn this into something else. I'm trying to understand what it already is. We need this expansion." "Then you should have discussed it with me. I thought the bank had." "The bank isn't my son." He went quiet. I waited for him to say he was sorry. I waited for him to ask whether I was comfortable. Instead, he said, "Can you please just come on Mother's Day and not make things tense?" I looked at my blue notebook. Under return Nathan's invoices, I drew one straight line. "I'll come as your mother," I said. Nothing else. Then I ended the call. I carried my cold coffee to the sink. I washed the mug and dried it. After that, I went to the hallway closet. The lockbox sat behind Walter's old winter boots. I lifted it onto the kitchen table. I didn't open it yet. I took my notebook instead. I wrote down the amount Nathan had named. I wrote the closing date. Then I wrote one question beneath both. What exactly is my name paying for? I placed the notebook beside the lockbox and turned the key. The lid lifted with a soft metal scrape. I moved the brown folder onto the table. Under it was a small envelope of photographs. One had slipped halfway out. It showed the restaurant before opening day. The tables were still wrapped in plastic. Walter stood beside the bar with a drill in his hand. Nathan had one arm around him. Whitney stood on Nathan's other side, holding a paint roller. I had taken the picture. 3 days later, Whitney handed me a dish towel. "We need every pair of hands," she said. I spent that afternoon wiping dust from glasses. Walter secured the last pantry shelf. Nathan kept coming through the kitchen, tasting sauces and asking everyone what they thought. Near midnight, he brought us 2 plates. "Sit down," he said, "both of you." We sat at the table by the front window. The menu wasn't printed yet. The dining room smelled like fresh paint. Walter ate half his chicken before he noticed Nathan watching him. "What?" Walter asked. "Is it good?" It's warm and I didn't cook it. Nathan laughed. Then he looked at me. What do you think, Mom? The sauce needs salt. Whitney turned from the bar. I told you. Nathan tasted it again. You did tell me. He went back to the kitchen for salt. Walter leaned across the table. You could have lied, he said. He didn't ask me to lie. That boy's going to regret giving you kitchen authority. I smiled at the photograph. Then I noticed something behind us in the picture. A small paper sign had been taped to the window. Family table. Whitney had written it herself. I put the photograph face down. The guarantee was 14 pages long. I remembered signing each marked line at the bank. Kevin had explained that it continued until the bank received written notice ending it for future borrowing. I remembered that part. Walter had asked the question twice. So if they borrow more later, Ruth is backing that too? Kevin had nodded. Unless she revokes it for future advances. Nathan had reached across the table. We're not going to keep taking money without talking to you. I had believed him. Not because I was careless. Nathan was my son. Walter was beside me. We all understood the restaurant would need help getting started. There was a difference between helping someone begin and being treated like a permanent source. I hadn't paid attention to when that difference disappeared. I closed the folder without reading further. The phone rang again. This time, it was Whitney. Ruth, did Nathan speak to you? He did. Good. I'm glad that's settled. What do you think is settled? The misunderstanding about brunch. There was no misunderstanding. She went quiet for a moment. Then her voice softened. I think everybody's under stress. I'm not. Well, I am. We're trying to prepare for our largest spring event. The expansion announcement has to go smoothly. You planned the announcement before speaking to me. That's really a bank matter. My name being involved makes it my matter. The guarantee already exists. So does your telephone. She sighed. Could we please separate the financing from Mother's Day? You joined them when you planned the announcement there. That's not what I mean. What do you mean? I mean, this conversation has become much larger than coffee. It was never about coffee. Another silence. I could hear her clicking something on a keyboard. Then she said, Would you still be willing to compare the March linen bills? I looked at the brown folder. You called me about brunch. I'm asking while I have you. No. She didn't answer. It was such a small word. I had used it before, of course. I wasn't a woman who agreed to everything. But with Nathan, I had begun saying yes before he finished asking. Whitney cleared her throat. Are you angry? I'm paying attention. I don't know what that means. It means you'll need to check March yourself. We don't really have time for this. You have the same number of hours I do. Ruth, this is the family business. That sentence reached me. I looked at the old photograph lying face down. Then give the work to the family at the table. She hung up. I stayed in my chair for several minutes. My first feeling wasn't satisfaction. It was worry. What if they missed another duplicate charge? What if Nathan paid it? What if Whitney became more overwhelmed? I nearly called her back. Instead, I stood and opened the refrigerator. I took out eggs, butter, and a jar of strawberry preserves. I made myself toast and scrambled eggs, though it was nearly noon. Walter used to tell me I treated meals like appointments. If I missed the proper time, I thought I had lost permission to eat. I carried my plate to the table. The guarantee was still there. So was the photograph. After lunch, I returned the papers to the folder. I left the folder outside the lockbox. That was as far as I got. The next morning, Nathan came to my house. He knocked once and opened the door. He still had a key. I heard him call from the hallway. Mom? In the kitchen. He entered carrying a cardboard file box. I knew that box. It held older restaurant invoices. He set it beside my chair. What's this? I asked. The March bills. Take them back. He stayed bent over the box. Can you just look at the linen invoices? No. He straightened. Mom, come on. Whitney asked yesterday. I said no. She told me. Then why did you bring them? Because she thought you were upset with her. I am not discussing Whitney's feelings through a box of bills. His cheeks became red. This is ridiculous. Take the box. You've always handled these. I've helped with them. What's the difference? Help is requested. This was delivered. He pulled out the chair across from me. His coat remained on. Can we talk without making every sentence sharp? Yes. He waited. I waited too. Finally, he said, "We really need the expansion. I understand that. The patio could change the whole summer. Then I hope your plan is sound." It is. Did the bank approve the advance? We're in the final steps. Does Kevin know you didn't discuss it with me? Nathan leaned back. He doesn't manage our family conversations. No, you do. His mouth tightened. I thought you would be pleased. Why? Because it means the restaurant is growing. That isn't an answer. He looked around my kitchen. His eyes stopped on the brown folder. What's that? You know what it is. He read the label from where he sat. Why did you take that out? Because you said my guarantee covers the advance. It does. I wanted to read what I signed. His gaze stayed on the folder. Are you planning something? I'm asking questions. You're making me nervous. Imagine how I felt learning about $80,000 during an argument over coffee. It wasn't an argument. You brought a box to my house after I said no. What would you call this? He rested his hands on the table. Mom, the bank wouldn't lend us the money if the restaurant couldn't support it. Then why do they need my guarantee? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That gave me one useful answer. The restaurant may have been growing. The bank still wanted my name behind that growth. Nathan stood. Fine. Don't look at the invoices. I already said I wouldn't. He reached for the box. Before he lifted it, I asked, when did you last come here without bringing restaurant work? He looked at me. What? When did you last visit without needing something? That's not fair. It's a question. I come by. When? I brought soup. That was 2 winters ago. No, it wasn't. It was. The lid cracked in my freezer. I threw it away last month. He looked toward the sink. I call you. You call about the restaurant. I'm busy, Mom, I know. You know what running that place takes. Yes, I know better than most. His hands tightened around the box handles. I could see him searching for the sentence that would end the conversation. He didn't want to answer the question. He wanted us to return to the arrangement we had before. He would bring work. I would complete it. Then I would feel included because he needed me. That was the part I had helped create. After Walter died, the restaurant gave me somewhere to go. There was always a reservation to confirm or a delivery to check. I could walk through the side door and find someone who recognized me. At home, nobody needed the towels folded by a certain time. Nobody noticed whether dinner was late. At Millstone Table, I was useful. I had mistaken useful for wanted. Nathan lifted the box. I'll handle these. That's good. He walked into the hallway. I followed him. At the front door, he turned. Are you still coming to brunch? You invited me. I did. I'll be there. He nodded, but he didn't look relieved. And you won't make a scene? What scene are you expecting? Nothing. Forget it. No. Tell me. He shifted the box against his chest. Whitney thinks you may say something in front of her family. About the financing. About all of it. What is all of it? You know. I don't. His eyes moved toward the driveway. Linda can be sensitive. So can I. I'm aware. The way he said it made sensitive sound like difficult. I opened the door. Cold air came through the screen. Take care of the invoices, I said. He stepped outside. Then he stopped. Mom, you know I love you. I held the door open. Yes, it was true. I did know that. I also knew he had learned to use love as the last sentence. It arrived when he had no intention of changing the first ones. He carried the box to his car. That afternoon, I drove to the dry cleaner. My blue dress was ready. I had planned to wear it on Mother's Day. It was the same dress I had worn to Nathan's 45th birthday dinner. Walter had liked blue on me. He used to say it made me stand straighter. At home, I hung it on the bedroom door. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I checked my calendar for the last full month. There were 7 restaurant tasks written in blue ink. April 3rd, compare produce order. April 6th, cover host stand. April 10th, wait for repair company. April 14th, check linen bill. April 18th, pick up menu paper. April 21st, confirm private dinner. April 24th, return invoices. There were 2 notes involving Nathan that weren't work. One was his birthday. The other said, Nathan may stop by. He hadn't. I sat on the edge of my bed. The blue dress hung in front of me. I had been waiting for Mother's Day because I thought it would settle something. I thought Nathan would sit with me, even briefly. I thought he might thank me during the expansion announcement. That was embarrassing to admit. Not to you, to myself. I wanted a chair because I believed the chair would prove I still belonged. The telephone rang downstairs. I let it ring. A minute later, my answering machine picked up. Whitney's voice traveled up the stairwell. Ruth, it's me. We're missing the key to the reservation office. Nathan thinks you may still have the spare. Please call us. I went to my handbag. The spare key was on my ring. They had given it to me years earlier so I could enter the office during private events. I drove it over before dinner. Nathan wasn't there. Whitney stood at the host desk with a stack of menus. Thank goodness, she said. I placed the key on the desk. You should keep your own spare. We usually do. Things are everywhere right now. She picked it up and started walking toward the office. Then she looked back. Could you help me find the vendor folder? No. She blinked. I'm already here. That doesn't make me available. I turned toward the side door. On the wall beside it hung the event clipboard. I had used it many times. It listed service assignments for the next 2 weeks. Mother's Day was on the second page. Whitney had written my name beside 2 jobs, coffee station, guest arrivals. The ink looked old. She hadn't added my name after our conversation. She had counted on me before she ever asked. I removed the page from the clipboard. Whitney came up behind me. What are you doing? I showed her the assignments. You already scheduled me. It was a draft. You wrote my name in ink. I assumed you'd help. I know. That was the small truth I had needed. This wasn't one rushed request. It was the place she had assigned me. I drew 1 line through my name. Then I handed the page to her. You'll need someone else. Her face went still. I left through the side door, and this time I made sure I didn't keep the key. My key ring felt lighter in my hand. I sat in the car for a moment. Through the window, I could see Whitney studying the page. She didn't tear it up. She carried it into the reservation office. The office door closed. I drove home. The brown folder was where I had left it. I made tea and spread the guarantee across the kitchen table. This time, I read every page. Most of it sounded like bank language: obligations, advances, renewals, extensions. I understood the general meaning, but I didn't trust myself with every sentence. One paragraph mentioned written revocation. It said the revocation would apply to future advances. It also said existing obligations would remain guaranteed. I remembered Kevin explaining that in 2018. 8 years can change many things, though. Loans get renewed. Terms get amended. People sign papers and forget what connects to what. I needed current information. I found Kevin's business card inside the folder. The edges had yellowed slightly. The bank opened at 9. At 9:12 the next morning, I called. A woman answered and transferred me. Kevin came on after a short wait. This is Kevin Davis. Kevin, this is Ruth Graham. He paused. Ruth. Good morning. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. No. What can I do for you? I have questions about my guarantee for Millstone Table. His tone changed. It didn't become unfriendly. It became careful. All right. I'd rather ask them in person. Of course. When can you see me? He checked his calendar. I have 10:30 today. I'll be there. I arrived 7 minutes early. The bank was quiet. A display near the entrance advertised home improvement loans. Someone had placed a bowl of wrapped peppermints on a side table. Kevin came through a glass door and shook my hand. He was 51 now. I remembered him looking younger than Nathan when we first met. That was no longer true. He led me into a small office. You brought your copy, he said. I did. I placed the brown folder between us. He didn't touch it right away. Before we start, I need to be clear about something. The restaurant's business information is private. I understand. But I can discuss your guarantee. I can explain your current exposure. That's what I'm asking. He nodded. Good. He opened a file on his computer. Then he asked for my identification. I handed it to him. He checked the screen again. What specifically concerns you? My son told me they plan to borrow another $80,000. Kevin folded his hands. Yes, he said the advance is being handled under the existing arrangement. That's accurate. Does that mean my guarantee covers it? If the advance closes while the guarantee remains active, yes. The answer was simple. I still felt it in my stomach. Have I approved that advance? Your guarantee doesn't require separate approval for each future advance. I understand the paper says that. I'm asking whether anyone spoke to me. He looked at the file. Not from the bank, no. Why not? I sat back. There was the inconsistency. Nathan had made the process sound finished and ordinary. It was ordinary only because a paper I signed 8 years earlier allowed them to keep using my name without another conversation. Kevin watched me. Did you expect the bank to contact you? I expected my son to. He nodded once. That's between you and Nathan. I know. He pulled my guarantee closer. He turned to the paragraph I had marked with a slip of paper. You mentioned questions about this section. Is it still in effect? Yes. The right to revoke it? Yes. What would that do today? He took a breath before answering. If the bank receives proper written revocation before making another advance, you would not guarantee that new advance. And the restaurant? The bank would evaluate whether it could proceed without your guarantee. That sounds like no. I can't make that decision in this conversation. Could the bank delay the advance? Yes. Could it refuse it? Yes. Unless Nathan and Whitney provide something else? Replacement security or a revised loan package could affect the decision. He did not suggest what that might be. He simply waited. What happens to the money they already owe? I asked. Your revocation would not remove your responsibility for the existing guaranteed balance. How much is that? He looked at the computer. $96,000. I had expected a large number. I hadn't expected that one. When the restaurant opened, the original borrowing was lower. There have been changes over time. Changes I guaranteed. Yes. Was I notified? Statements and notices went to the address listed in the file. Which address? He read the restaurant address. 24 Maple Street. The restaurant received them. Not me. Is that allowed? It's the notice address on the signed documents. I opened my copy. There it was. I had read that line before. Walter and I had assumed Nathan would share anything important. Kevin turned the folder slightly toward me. Ruth, I want to make sure you understand. Revocation would protect you from qualifying future advances. It would not erase the $96,000. So if the restaurant failed tomorrow, I could still be responsible for that. Potentially, yes. And if I do nothing before the new advance? Your exposure could increase to $176,000. If the full advance closed and remained unpaid, that would be the combined amount involved. I looked down at my hands. I had used lotion that morning. It smelled faintly of almonds. Walter used to complain that it made his coffee cup slippery when I handed it to him. That memory came for no useful reason. I asked, when is the bank scheduled to release the new money? The anticipated closing date is May 15th. Anticipated? Conditions still have to be met. Is my active guarantee one of them? Yes. He did not soften it. I appreciated that. What would written revocation require? A signed notice clearly identifying the guarantee. It should state that you revoke it for future advances. Could I hand it to you? Yes. When would it become effective? When the bank receives it, subject to the terms in the guarantee. And then we would acknowledge receipt. The lending team would review the pending advance. Would you tell Nathan? The borrowers would be notified if it affected the pending transaction. I looked toward the glass wall. A woman crossed the lobby carrying a deposit bag. A man stood near the counter filling out a slip. Everything continued quietly. What if I only wanted more information? I asked. Then you have it. You wouldn't tell them I came here? Not for asking about your own exposure? That mattered. I wasn't hiding a plan. I didn't have one yet. I needed one honest conversation before I made a decision. Kevin closed the screen. Do you want to submit a revocation today? No. All right. I want to speak to Nathan first. He nodded. I would encourage you to make any decision before the closing date. How much before? Enough time for written notice to be received and recorded. A week? That would avoid last-minute uncertainty. It was late April. I had days, not months. I slid the guarantee back into the folder. Thank you for being clear. You're welcome. He stood and opened the office door. At the threshold, I stopped. One more question. Yes? If Nathan replaces my guarantee, does the bank have any reason to involve me? No. So this isn't about me preventing the expansion. It's about whether the bank has acceptable support for the advance. That support is currently me. Yes, that was the useful part. I wasn't the only possible answer. I was simply the answer they had already counted on. Kevin shook my hand again. The decision is yours, Ruth. Then he returned to his office and left the family part where it belonged. I sat in my car with the folder on my lap. For several minutes, I watched people enter the bank. Most carried envelopes. One woman held a jar of coins against her coat. I had gone there hoping to learn whether Nathan had exaggerated. He hadn't. That was worse. The advance was real. The deadline was real. My risk was real. The only thing he had minimized was my right to care. I opened my blue notebook. Under the question from the day before, I wrote 4 lines. Current balance $96,000, new advance $80,000. Closing date May 15th. Written revocation stops future advances only. Then I added another line. Nathan receives one chance to speak plainly. I closed the notebook. On my way home, I passed Millstone Table. A delivery truck blocked the side entrance. Nathan stood on the sidewalk directing 2 men toward the kitchen. I kept driving. He called me that afternoon. I answered in the living room. Mom, did you go to the bank? My hand tightened around the phone. How do you know? I don't. I'm asking. Why are you asking? Because you took out the guarantee. You saw it on my table. Yes. So you came to a conclusion. Did you? I looked toward the brown folder. I asked questions about my own obligation. He exhaled. What did Kevin say? That I guarantee $96,000 now. Nathan went quiet. You knew the balance, I said. I knew approximately. Is 96 approximate? It changes with payments. Did you know before you asked for the new advance? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? We've been making the payments. That is not an answer. The loan is current. Still not an answer. His voice grew impatient. What exactly do you want me to say? I want you to tell me why you thought I didn't need to know. You signed the guarantee. I remember. So you understood there could be future borrowing. I understood there could be. I didn't understand you would arrange it without speaking to me. We weren't hiding it. You announced it when I asked. We haven't even announced the patio yet. You told me after I asked about money. That's not hiding. I walked to the front window. A light rain had begun. It left tiny dark marks on the porch steps. When were you going to tell me the balance? I asked. I don't know. At brunch? Maybe. During the toast? Mom, please. Before or after I poured the coffee? That's not happening now. Because I refused. He didn't answer. I said, I need to speak with you in person. We are speaking. In person, Nathan. What else is there? Come to my house tomorrow morning. I have deliveries. What time can you come? He hesitated. 9. Come alone. Why? Because I want one conversation with my son. Whitney is my wife. I know exactly who she is. That sounded hostile. It was exact. He lowered his voice. Are you trying to stop the loan? I'm deciding what I'm willing to support. Those are the same thing. No, they only feel the same because you made my support part of your plan. He said nothing. I could hear the restaurant around him. A timer sounded. Someone asked him where to put a box. 9 o'clock, I said. I'll be there. After we hung up, I carried the guarantee to the lockbox. I started to put it away. Then I stopped. If I returned it to the bottom, I knew what I might do. I might let the conversation drift. I might accept whatever softened the next 10 minutes. I left the folder on the table. That evening, I took out 2 sheets of paper. On the first, I wrote what I needed to know about Brunch. Had Nathan seen the family seating plan? Had he approved it? Where did he believe I belonged? On the second, I wrote what I needed to know about the money. Why had he excluded me from the discussion? Did he expect my guarantee to remain in place? Would he ask for my consent if the bank didn't require it? I didn't write what answer I wanted. I already knew. I wanted him to look embarrassed. I wanted him to say he had been thoughtless. I wanted him to promise me a proper seat and mean it. That was still too small. A seat would not explain the loan. An apology would not reduce the balance. I put both pages inside the brown folder. Before bed, I checked the weather for the next morning. More rain. I set the kitchen table with 2 cups. Then I placed the folder between them, where neither of us could pretend not to see it. At 8:57, I heard his car. He knocked this time. I opened the door and stepped aside. His coat was wet across the shoulders. You could have waited until the rain slowed, I said. I have to be at the restaurant by 10. He wiped his shoes on the mat. The 2 cups were still on the table. I had made coffee 5 minutes earlier. Nathan sat across from me. He looked at the folder, then at the second sheet of paper. You wrote questions? I didn't want us to wander. This feels like a meeting. It is a meeting. I'm your son. That's why you're here. I poured coffee for both of us. He added cream. He didn't drink. Ask, he said. I rested my hands beside the folder. Have you seen the Mother's Day seating chart? Parts of it. What parts? The reservation counts. The larger tables. Have you seen the family table? He looked into his cup. Whitney's still working on that. Who has a definite place? Mom. Who? He rubbed his thumb along the cup handle. Linda does. Who else? Amy and Gabriel are coming with her. That isn't what I asked. They'll sit near Linda. Where? Near the window, probably. Why? Because that's the best place for the announcement. For them, for photographs. I didn't say anything. Nathan finally took a sip. He put the cup down too hard. Coffee moved against the rim. Whitney wants the room to look full and lively. I'm capable of looking alive. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? He looked toward the rain on the window. Her family is part of the restaurant's image. There it was. Not a guess. Not my imagination. His own words. What does Linda do for that image? I asked. She attends events. People know her. People know me. Amy posts pictures. Gabriel brings business clients. I backed the loan. We are not putting loan information in photographs. Then don't use photographs to explain my place. He pushed his chair back an inch. This is exactly why I didn't want to discuss the chart. Because the answer sounds bad? Because you take every detail personally. It is Mother's Day. Yes, and we're operating a restaurant. You asked your mother to work while your wife's mother sits by the window. You said you wouldn't work. After I was asked. We accepted your answer. Whitney called me angry. She was stressed. You brought invoices after I refused them. That was separate. Nothing is separate when my labor, my money, and my place all depend on what you need. He stood and carried his cup to the sink. The conversation was 9 minutes old. He was already trying to leave it. I said, sit down. He turned. I don't have all morning, neither do I. He looked surprised. Then he came back to the table. I asked the question plainly. Where do you believe I should sit? At brunch? Yes. With the family. Which family? Mom, stop. I'm asking because you keep saying family. Whitney seems to mean Linda, Amy, and Gabriel. That's not fair. Where is my chair? I don't know yet. Then you don't know whether I have one. We can add a chair. Add it where? He lifted both hands. Wherever there's room. I looked at him. He heard it that time. His shoulders dropped. I didn't make the chart, he said. Did you approve the plan? I approved the event setup. That includes the family table. I didn't inspect every chair. Did you know Whitney placed her family first? He didn't answer. Nathan. Yes. The rain tapped against the kitchen window. I picked up my cup. It had cooled enough to drink. Why did you allow that? I thought we'd work yours out. Later. Yes. After the people important to the image. That's Whitney's wording. You just used it. Because that's how she thinks about these events. And how do you think? He pressed his palms against the table. I think I have 200 reservations. I think the kitchen needs another refrigerator. I think the patio could keep us strong through summer. I think one chair should not become a crisis. Then why wasn't one saved? He looked down. That silence answered the first sheet of paper. I folded it once and placed it inside the folder. Nathan watched me. What was that? The brunch questions. And I have the answers. You don't know the final chart. Neither do you. He shook his head. Whitney can put you at the family table. Can she? Yes. Will she? I'll speak to her. I waited. He seemed to expect thanks. Instead, I took out the second sheet. His eyes moved across the first line. Now the loan? Yes, I told you everything. You told me the amount after I demanded it. I wasn't keeping it secret. Did you intend to ask my consent? The guarantee doesn't require it. I asked about your intention. He leaned back. We built the financing plan around the existing documents. Did you intend to ask? No. He said it quickly. Maybe he thought speed made it less ugly. Why not? Because we knew you supported the restaurant. You assumed I did. You do. I supported opening it. You've supported it ever since. I checked invoices. You did more than that. Yes, without pay. You never asked to be paid. I thought I was helping family. You were. Family you couldn't find a chair for. He closed his eyes. Please stop connecting those things. They are connected through me. The loan is business. Then replace my family guarantee with a business one. His eyes opened. What did Kevin tell you? He explained my current exposure. Did he suggest that? No, because it isn't that simple. I didn't say it was. We would have to find other security. Yes. The closing could be delayed. Yes. We could lose the contractor. That sounds like something you should have considered before counting on my name. His face changed then. Not anger yet. Fear. Did you revoke it? I looked at him. Not before this conversation. He breathed out. Good. I hadn't promised anything. He heard a promise anyway. He reached across the table. Mom, please don't disrupt the financing. Why? Because the restaurant needs it. That explains what you need. It affects all of us. How does the patio affect me? It protects the business, and the business pays the loan. Exactly. The loan I guarantee. We have never missed a payment. I'm glad. We're not reckless. I didn't call you reckless. Then what are you saying? I'm asking whether you see anything wrong here. With the financing? With expecting me to carry more risk without a conversation? He stared at the brown folder. We should have mentioned it earlier. Mentioned? Discussed. Fine. We should have discussed it. Would that discussion have included my right to say no? His jaw moved. I waited. Finally, he said, We've already spent money preparing. How much? Design work, permits, deposits. How much, Nathan? A little over $12,000. That was new. From restaurant funds? Yes. Before the advance closed? That's normal. Did you sign contracts? Some. What happens if the advance doesn't close? He pushed his chair back again. It's going to close. That isn't an answer. We may lose deposits. How much? I don't know exactly. You expect me to guarantee another $80,000, but you don't know what you've already committed? Whitney handles the project, invoices. Of course she did. He stood and put on his coat. I need to leave. I stayed seated. He picked up his car keys. At the doorway, he turned. Will you please leave the guarantee alone until after May 15th? There was no question about my comfort, no promise to replace me, no concern about the $96,000 already attached to my house and savings, only a date. I heard you, I said. That isn't a yes. No. He looked at me for several seconds. Then he said, if you do something now, Whitney will know it's because of brunch. I haven't seen the seating chart. You know what I mean. Yes, I said. I do. After he left, I poured his coffee into the sink. The second sheet remained on the table. I read my last question again. Would he ask for my consent if the bank didn't require it? He had answered that one first. No. I had believed I needed Nathan to choose me a place. I had believed a seat offered freely would repair the rest. Now I understood the chair wasn't the decision in front of me. My name was. I took a clean sheet from my desk. The first version of the letter was too long. I explained the brunch. I explained the invoices. I explained Walter. Then I tore it in half. The bank didn't need my hurt. It needed my instruction. I wrote a second letter. The whole thing fit on one page. I copied it twice. At the bank, I asked for someone at the commercial desk. A woman came to the counter. I handed her the original. I need this received today. She read the first 2 lines. I'll stamp your copy. She took both pages behind the counter. I watched her mark the date and time. When she returned, she placed my copy in front of me. Would you like a receipt as well? Yes. She printed one. Will the notice go into the loan file today? I asked. I'll deliver it directly to the commercial department. Thank you. She glanced at the document again. You'll receive formal acknowledgement after it's recorded. How? According to the contact information in the guarantee file, any borrower notice goes to the business email. I thought of the restaurant address on the older papers. Does my notice require their agreement? No. This is your signed notice. And if I change my mind? You would need to discuss any new arrangement with the lending department. This notice would remain part of the file. That was the cost of doing it properly. I couldn't pretend it had been a threat. I couldn't wave the paper and then quietly put it away. The bank had received it. I slid the stamped copy and receipt into the brown folder. Outside, the rain had stopped. Nathan had asked me to leave the guarantee alone until May 15th. I had filed the notice before lunch. I didn't call him. I had given him the private conversation. He had used it to protect the advance. When I reached home, Whitney had left a message. Her voice was bright. Ruth, Nathan said you two talked? I'm glad. We'd really like Mother's Day to feel normal. Please come at 9:30. We'll make sure there's a place for you. Not your place. A place. I saved the message. Then another message arrived from Nathan. Please don't make any decisions while you're upset. I read it twice. He still thought my feelings were the dangerous part. I put the stamped notice in the lockbox. I kept the guarantee folder on the table. Then I replied, I'll attend as your mother. I won't work. I expect you to be honest with me. 3 dots appeared. They vanished. A minute later, he sent one sentence. We'll talk after brunch. By then, the bank would already be reviewing a loan package that no longer had my future guarantee behind it. That fact didn't make me sleep better. I woke at 5:40 and listened to rainwater moving through the gutter. The house was dark. I stayed in bed until 6:30. Then I made coffee and opened the curtains. My stamped copy was safe. The bank had my instruction. Nothing more needed to happen that morning, at least nothing from me. Around 10, I took the blue dress from its hanger. The cleaner had pressed the sleeves too flat. I set up the ironing board in the living room and warmed the iron. I was working on the second sleeve when the telephone rang. Linda's name appeared. She rarely called me directly. Hello, Linda. Ruth. I hope this is a good time. I'm ironing. Oh, I can call later. You've already called. She laughed once. I suppose I have. I turned off the iron. What can I do for you? Well, Whitney mentioned there had been some tension. Did she ask you to call? No, not exactly. That meant yes. Linda continued. She's very worried about Sunday. Is she? She wants it to be lovely. So do I. She said you were unhappy with your role. My role? At the brunch. What did she tell you my role was? Linda hesitated. She said you'd offered to help with arrivals. Then something changed. I put the iron upright. I didn't offer. Oh. She scheduled me before asking. I see. She asked me to run coffee. I said I would attend as Nathan's mother. There was a pause. Whitney made it sound more casual, Linda said. I'm sure she did. She said you often help. I do. Then perhaps she assumed. She did. That's the problem. Linda lowered her voice. I don't want to be in the middle. Then you should call Whitney back. I only wanted to make peace. Peace between whom? You and Whitney. Nathan is part of this. Of course. Has he asked you to call me? No. That answer didn't surprise me. Linda cleared her throat. Ruth, I know Mother's Day can be difficult after losing Walter. I looked at the blue dress. This is not about grief making me confused. I didn't say that. You brought up my husband. I was trying to be thoughtful. Then ask me what happened. She became quiet. I waited. Finally, she said, What happened? I told her about the service assignment. I did not mention the bank. I said Whitney had written my name beside coffee and arrivals. I said there was no clear answer about where I would sit. Linda listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, Whitney asked me whether I wanted Amy on my left or Gabriel. When? Last week. So your seats were already planned. I assumed everyone's were. Mine wasn't. Are you certain? Nathan said they'd work it out. Linda breathed out slowly. I didn't know that. No. She told me you were making the seating difficult. How? She said you wanted special treatment. What treatment? She didn't explain. I folded the blue sleeve over the ironing board. Did she say I refused to attend? No. She said you might. Did she say I was threatening the announcement? Linda paused too long. What did she say? She said you had concerns about the expansion. What kind of concerns? She didn't tell me. That meant Whitney knew more about my conversation with Nathan than I had expected. He had gone from my kitchen to the restaurant and told her enough to make me sound dangerous. Linda said, Is there a problem with the patio? That's for Nathan and Whitney to discuss. You just said you had concerns. I said Whitney told you that. Ruth, I'm not discussing their financing. Her voice became firmer. Then why involve it in Mother's Day? I didn't plan an expansion announcement during brunch. That's true. I also didn't ask you to call. She was quiet again. I picked up the iron but didn't turn it on. Then Linda said, For what it's worth, I would never ask you to work while I sat down. I'm glad. If I'd known, I would have said something. You know now. That landed harder than I intended. She didn't answer immediately. I'll speak to Whitney, she said. You can speak for yourself. Please don't speak for me. All right, and if anyone asks why I'm not helping, tell them the truth, that you chose to attend as a guest, as Nathan's mother. Yes. After we hung up, I finished the dress. The call gave me one useful thing. Whitney had already told her family a version of the problem. In that version, I had offered help, wanted special treatment, and developed concerns about the expansion. She had placed my reaction before her decision. That made me look like the cause. I wrote the details in my notebook. I included Linda's question about Amy and Gabriel. Their seats had been discussed the week before. I underlined one sentence. Do not argue with stories you haven't heard directly. At 11:30, Whitney called. She didn't begin with hello. What did you say to my mother? The truth. She's upset now. About what? She thinks we were trying to make you work. You were. That isn't how it was presented. How was it presented? As helping. You assigned 2 jobs before asking. It was a draft. We've done that part. Her voice sharpened. You made it sound like I excluded you. I told Linda I didn't know where I was sitting. You do know. You're sitting with family. Where? We're adjusting the layout. What does that mean? It means we're making changes. Because Linda called you? Because you created a problem where there wasn't one. I walked to the kitchen and opened my notebook. Tell me where I'm sitting. I don't have the chart in front of me. You're calling from the restaurant. I'm in the office. The chart is in the office. She didn't answer. Whitney? I don't appreciate being interrogated. I asked about one chair. We are trying to fit everyone. You found 3 seats for your family last week. My mother needs Amy and Gabriel near her. Why? Because it's Mother's Day. I let that sit. She heard it. That came out wrong, she said. No, it came out clearly. You know what I mean. They're arriving together. I'm arriving alone. We know. 2 small words. They explained more than she intended. Walter would not walk in beside me. There would be no second person expecting my place. Nobody would ask why a couple had been separated. I was easier to move. Whitney continued. There may be room at the end of the long table. Maybe. I need to check. Check now. I don't have time. You called me. To ask what you told my mother. I answered. She lowered her voice. Linda thinks I treated you badly. Did you? No. The answer came too quickly. Then she added, I was trying to include you in the day by giving me work, by giving you something meaningful to do. I looked at the 7 restaurant tasks on my calendar. What would I do if I weren't useful? What kind of question is that? A meaningful one. This is becoming dramatic. No, it's becoming specific. She exhaled. Ruth, can we please get through Sunday without a family fight? That depends on your family. You're part of my family. Am I? Of course. Then invite me directly. I thought Nathan did. You asked him to manage me. That's not fair. Call me back when you can tell me where I belong. I ended the call. My hands were shaking slightly. I pressed them against the counter until they stopped. 5 minutes later, a text arrived. Please arrive at 9:45. We'll seat you before service begins. No greeting, no invitation. An instruction about arrival. I saved it. Then I opened the restaurant's public page. The newest post showed the back wall and the patch of ground planned for the patio. Across the picture, Whitney had placed the words, "A new season is coming." Below it, she had written that Millstone Table would make a special announcement during Mother's Day brunch. Linda had commented, "So proud of you both. Can't wait to celebrate together." Amy had added 3 tulip symbols. Gabriel wrote that the best seats in town were about to become even better. I read the post twice. There was no mention of financing, no claim that the advance had closed, nothing untrue on its face. Still, they were inviting customers to witness a certainty that did not exist. I took screenshots, not for revenge. I wanted a clear record of what they had announced and when. I had spent too long relying on family memory. Family memory often belonged to whoever spoke first. That afternoon, Nathan came to my porch. He didn't knock. He stayed outside and called me from his phone. "I'm here." I opened the door but kept the screen closed. "What do you need?" "I need to talk to you. You said after brunch. Can I come in? Is Whitney with you?" "No." I opened the screen. He stepped into the hallway. His expression told me Linda had called more than once. "You upset her," he said. "Which woman?" "Both of them." Linda called me. She was trying to help. She was trying to correct a story she didn't understand. Whitney didn't lie. She said I offered to work. Nathan looked away. That may have been how she remembered it. "You were standing there. Mom, I'm not doing this. Then why are you here?" He followed me into the kitchen. The brown folder remained on the table. I had not put away my copy of the guarantee. The stamp notice was locked up, but the folder alone made him nervous. He pointed to it. "Did you make a decision?" "Yes." His face lost color. "What decision?" "To attend brunch as your mother." "That's not what I'm asking." "I know. Did you contact the bank again?" I closed my notebook. "Why?" Because Linda said you wouldn't discuss the patio. I don't discuss another person's finances with someone who isn't part of the loan. She's Whitney's mother. She isn't a borrower. That sounds like something Kevin would say. It sounds like something a guarantor should say. Nathan walked to the window. You're enjoying this? No. You've got everybody worried. They're worried because I asked what I guarantee. They're worried because you won't say what you're doing. You didn't say what you were doing until I asked. He turned. So this is punishment? No. Then tell me the guarantee is still active. I stood. I won't discuss bank documents while you're here to defend a seating chart you claim you haven't seen. He stared at me. You're tying them together. They were already tied. By what? By the way you treat my place as optional and my risk as settled. His phone rang. Whitney's name appeared on the screen. He silenced it. Come to the restaurant tonight, he said. Why? We'll show you the layout. The final seating chart? We'll show you what we have. No. He frowned. You demanded to see it. I asked where I was sitting. You've had several chances to answer. We can answer tonight. With Whitney standing beside you explaining why every chair matters more than mine, that's not what will happen. Then tell me now. He rubbed his forehead. I think she moved you to the long table. Moved me from where? I don't know. So there was no original place. I didn't say that. You can't name it. His phone rang again. He silenced it again. Then he looked at the brown folder. If the bank calls us because of this, Whitney will know you did it over a chair. That was the first veiled warning. Not a threat of punishment. A threat about the story. He and Whitney would tell people why I acted. They would name my hurt before they named their use of me. I opened the front door. Then you should be careful to tell the whole truth. He didn't move. Did you revoke it? I held the door. Goodbye, Nathan. He walked past me onto the porch. Before he reached his car, he turned. Sunday is going to be full. If you arrive late, we may not be able to change things. I won't be late. He nodded as if that solved something. Then he drove away. At 6, Linda sent me a message. Whitney says there will be room. I hope we can all enjoy the day. I did not answer. There will be room was not the same as someone had saved it. I took the blue dress upstairs. I chose a small silver pin Walter had given me and fastened it near the collar. Then I set my alarm for Sunday morning. I would arrive at 9:45 exactly as Whitney instructed. I would not pour coffee. I would not greet guests. I would not explain myself in the parking lot. I would walk into the dining room and see what they had decided when they believed the decision was still theirs. The next morning, the blue dress was still hanging straight. I left it alone. Saturday was usually when the restaurant called most. A delivery would be short. A private party would arrive early. Someone would need the office opened while Nathan drove across town. My telephone stayed quiet until 9:15. Then Amy sent me a link. She didn't include a message. The link opened the restaurant's public page. Whitney had posted a group of old photographs under the words, "Women who make Millstone feel like home." The first picture showed Linda at a table near the window. A vase of tulips stood beside her. The second showed Whitney carrying a tray. The third showed me behind the host stand. I remembered when it was taken. It was 2 winters earlier during a private dinner. A server had called out sick. I had stood there for 4 hours checking coats and answering the telephone. Under the photograph, Whitney had written about the women who gave their time behind the scenes. She thanked Linda for her constant encouragement. She thanked herself for balancing marriage and business. She thanked me for years of volunteer help. Then she wrote that I would be enjoying a well-earned rest during Sunday's brunch. I read that sentence again, a well-earned rest. She had turned my refusal into a gift from her. She had also announced that I would not be working. That part was useful. The rest was not. Linda had shared the post. Amy had written, "Beautiful tribute." Gabriel had added, "It takes a family." Customers were beginning to respond. Most left hearts or flower symbols. One woman wrote that she always enjoyed seeing me at the host stand. I put the telephone down. The photograph itself did not embarrass me. I had been helping that evening. I had agreed to stand there. The caption changed its meaning. It made my work sound like my family role. It made Whitney generous for allowing me to stop. I called Nathan. He answered on the fourth ring. Is something wrong? Have you seen the post? What post? The one about mothers. No, I've been in the kitchen. Look at it. I can't right now. Then call me when you can. I ended the call. 5 minutes later, he called back. It's a nice post. Remove my photograph. Why? I didn't agree to be described that way. How were you described? As volunteer help being given a rest. That's basically accurate. No, you have volunteered. I have worked without pay. That's volunteering, not when the work becomes expected. He lowered his voice. Whitney is trying to smooth things over. With whom? Everybody. She told everybody there was a problem. She did not. She announced that I won't work tomorrow. We had to explain why you won't be at the station. No one knew I was supposed to be there. The staff did. Then tell the staff I declined. He sighed. Mom, people like that picture. I want it removed. It's the day before the event. Taking it down will look strange. That is your concern. Can't you let one thing go? I let 7 tasks go onto my calendar last month. What does that have to do with a social media post? It is the same arrangement with better lighting. He didn't answer. I heard Whitney speaking in the background. What is she saying? I asked. She says you knew photographs were taken at events. I knew a photograph was taken. I didn't approve that caption. She's asking what caption you want. None. Could she change volunteer help to family support? No. That sounds warmer. I'm not asking for warmer. Whitney took the phone. Ruth, this is meant to honor you. Then honor my request. You're in the restaurant. Customers recognize you. I'm behind the host stand working. You always said you enjoyed helping. I did enjoy some of it. So the caption is true. It leaves out the expectation. What expectation? That I keep doing it to remain welcome. Her voice changed. Nobody said that. You don't have to. That is very unfair. Remove my photograph. If I take down the whole post, Linda will think she did something wrong. Keep Linda's photograph. The images are formatted together. You own the page. Solve it. She covered the phone, but I could still hear her speaking to Nathan. This is what I was afraid of. I waited. She came back. I can edit the caption. No. You can't control every picture taken inside the restaurant. I can tell my family not to use mine. This isn't personal. It is my face. Silence. Then Nathan came back onto the line. We'll take it down. Thank you. Now will you please stop calling during service? I called once. You know what I mean. No. I know what you say when I ask you to handle something. He hung up. The post disappeared 11 minutes later. That was a practical result. It also cost me. By noon, Linda's shared post showed a gray box where the photographs had been. Amy had removed her comment. Gabriel had not. He wrote a new one. Apparently not everyone appreciated the gesture. He didn't name me. He didn't need to. I took another screenshot. Then I went to the market. I needed milk, bread, and something for supper. I moved slowly through the aisles. Saturday shoppers filled the narrow spaces between carts. Near the vegetables, a woman I recognized from the restaurant smiled at me. I knew her face, but not her name. Big day tomorrow, she said, for the restaurant. I saw they're finally giving you a break. I held a bunch of carrots in one hand. Did you? That was sweet. What was? The post. I didn't realize how much you did there. Neither did I. She laughed because she thought I was joking. Then she asked, will you still attend? Yes. As a guest? As Nathan's mother. Her smile weakened. Well, of course. She moved her cart aside. I bought the carrots, even though I no longer wanted them. At home, I carried the bags inside one at a time. My left shoulder had begun aching. It did that when I lifted too much. I set the milk in the refrigerator. Then I sat at the kitchen table until the ache eased. The removed post had already done its work. A stranger knew I had been expected to work. She also believed Whitney had kindly released me. That was the scale of it. This wasn't only one missing invitation. It wasn't only a private habit between 3 people. They had built a public picture around my usefulness. Whitney presented it. Nathan allowed it. I kept supplying the material. Even if they placed me beside Linda the next morning, that picture would remain. I opened the hallway closet. On the upper shelf were 2 restaurant binders. One held old event checklists. The other held vendor notes and copies of invoice questions. I had kept them at home because somebody always needed an answer. I put both on the floor. Behind them was a cloth bag containing name tags, pens, and a roll of drink tickets. I added that to the pile. In the desk drawer, I found 3 restaurant keys that no longer opened anything. Nathan had changed the kitchen lock years earlier. I had kept the old keys anyway. I placed them in the bag. Then I emptied the lower drawer. There were menus from opening week. A reservation book with only 6 used pages. Walter's handwritten measurements for the pantry shelves. I kept the measurements. Everything else went into a cardboard box. At 3, Nathan came to the house. This time, I had asked him. He entered and saw the box near the door. What is that? Restaurant material. Why is it packed? I won't be doing unpaid work anymore. He looked at me. Ever? That is what anymore means. Because of the post? Because the post showed me what the arrangement has become. We removed it, after I insisted. What else did you expect us to do? Not post it. He bent and opened one flap. You don't have to return old menus. I don't need them. What about the vendor notes? They're in the blue binder. He lifted it from the box. These are yours. They concern your business. You made them. For your business. He set the binder back. Mom, this feels very final. It is specific. Same thing. No, I am still your mother. I am no longer your unpaid office help. You're making a distinction that nobody else made. That's why I have to make it. He sat on the bottom stair. His face looked tired. For a moment, I wanted to sit beside him. I wanted to touch his hair the way I had when he was young. I stayed standing. He said, I don't know how we got here. I do. Then tell me. You kept asking. I kept agreeing. Whitney stopped asking. You accepted that. He looked at the box. You liked being involved? Yes. Then why act like we forced you? Because liking some of it doesn't make all of it right. We appreciated you. You appreciated the work. That's not true. When did you last ask me to dinner without needing something? He closed his eyes. We already did this. You still don't have an answer. He stood. I'll take the box. Thank you. He lifted it, then set it down again. If you step away from everything, you can't be surprised when Whitney plans around people who show up. I felt that sentence clearly. People like Linda, she supports us. With labor? No. With money. That isn't the point. What does she provide that I don't? He stared at me. She doesn't make every interaction a test. I took one breath, then another. Take the box, Nathan. He lifted it. At the door, he said, There will be a chair for you tomorrow. I opened the screen. I'm not coming for a chair. His forehead tightened. What does that mean? It means a chair can't correct this. So why are you coming? Because I was invited. Because it's Mother's Day. Because you're my son. He shifted the box. And what are you expecting? Nothing now. That frightened him more than any demand. He carried the box to his car. At 5:30, Amy sent another message. Mom is upset about the deleted tribute. Whitney was trying to include everyone. Please don't make tomorrow uncomfortable. I typed 3 different replies. I erased them all. Then I wrote one. I asked for my photograph to be removed. It was removed. I will attend tomorrow as a guest. Amy replied almost immediately. It's family, Ruth. Not everything needs boundaries. I saved that message too. Later, Linda called. I let the machine answer. Ruth, I think we all need to make an effort tomorrow. Whitney is exhausted. Nathan is under pressure. Please come ready to move forward. She did not mention the story she had helped spread. She did not ask what moving forward required from them. I listened once, then I deleted the message. Before bed, Nathan texted, Come at 9:45. I promise we'll have a chair. I looked at the words for a long time. 2 days earlier, that promise would have mattered. Now it didn't answer the real question. I replied, "I'll be there. I won't work, and I won't support a false account of why." He did not respond. I turned off the kitchen light. The box of restaurant work was gone. The empty shelf in the hallway closet looked larger than it should have. For the first time since Walter died, the restaurant had nothing waiting for me the next morning. I went upstairs anyway and laid the blue dress across the foot of my bed. I slept for 4 hours. At 5:20, I gave up and went downstairs. The house was cold. I turned up the thermostat and filled the kettle. While it heated, I checked my telephone. There were no new messages. I made oatmeal and sat at the kitchen table. The brown folder was beside the lockbox. My notebook lay on top of it. I opened to the page where I had recorded Linda's call, Whitney's post, and Nathan's visit. It looked like preparation for an argument. I didn't want an argument. I wanted the story to stop changing every time it passed through another person. After breakfast, I opened a new message. I added Nathan, Whitney, Linda, Amy, and Gabriel. I read the names twice. Then I wrote, "Before brunch, I want one point clear. I did not volunteer to work Sunday and then withdraw. Whitney assigned me to coffee and guest arrivals before asking. I declined and said I would attend as Nathan's mother. Please don't repeat another version. I almost added a sentence about the financing. I didn't. That was not their information." I sent the message at 6:12. Whitney replied first. "This group message is unnecessary." I wrote back. "The group version made it necessary." Amy responded. "I only know what Mom told me." Linda answered a minute later. "Ruth is correct. I understood after speaking with her that she had not volunteered. That was the first visible correction. It came from Linda, not me." Gabriel wrote, "Fine. Nobody expects you to work." Then his comment disappeared from Linda's shared post. I checked twice. The gray box remained, but his sentence about not appreciating the gesture was gone. A small thing had changed because I spoke directly. Whitney could no longer tell each person something slightly different, not in that conversation. Nathan called immediately. I let it ring. He called again. I answered. "Why did you send that?" "Because Amy told me not to make today uncomfortable. She was trying to calm things down. She was responding to information your wife gave Linda. Now everybody's awake and arguing. I didn't argue. You put Whitney on trial in a family message. I stated what happened. You made it sound like she lied. Did she?" He lowered his voice. "She explained it badly. Then the correction should help." "You know it doesn't." "Why not?" "Because now Linda is questioning her." "What is Linda asking?" "Why Whitney said you volunteered. That seems reasonable." He made a frustrated sound. "Do you want us fighting before service? I want you to stop using private conversations to manage what other people think of me. Nobody is managing you. You came to my house to warn me how this would look. That was not a warning. You said Whitney would know I acted over a chair. If you interfere with the financing, she will." I moved my bowl to the sink. "Then tell her the truth." "What truth?" "That you planned new borrowing under my guarantee without asking me." Silence. I continued. "Tell her I learned the current balance from the bank. Tell her I asked whether you intended to seek my consent. Tell her you said no. That is not how it happened. It is exactly how it happened. You're leaving out the restaurant's needs. The restaurant's needs do not change what you did." His breathing became louder. "Are you bringing the guarantee to brunch?" "Why? Just answer me. I'm bringing my handbag." "That isn't funny. I'm not joking." "Mom, I need to know what you're planning. I plan to arrive at 9:45. I plan to sit down. I plan to eat brunch. And the announcement, I'll listen. That's all?" That is what a guest does. He didn't trust it. I could hear that in the pause. "Promise me you won't mention the loan," he said. "No." "Why?" "Because I don't make promises to protect incomplete stories." "What does that mean?" "It means if nobody uses my name, I have no reason to explain it. Whitney isn't going to mention you." I know. He missed the meaning. Or perhaps he understood it too well. Please don't ruin this for us, he said. I looked at the dark kitchen window. My reflection stood there holding the phone. I didn't arrange the financing. You know what I mean? Yes. He hung up. At 7, I carried the blue dress into the bathroom and turned on the shower. I left the door open so the steam could loosen one crease near the waist. Then I polished my black shoes. I didn't dress yet. It was too early. Instead, I took the brown folder to the kitchen. I removed everything except 4 items: my copy of the guarantee, the stamped revocation, the bank receipt, the notebook page with the loan amounts and deadline. I placed them in a thinner envelope. That envelope fit inside my handbag. I wasn't taking it to wave around. Nathan had asked whether I was bringing the guarantee. His question showed me what he feared. He knew my name mattered. He only wanted that fact kept away from the room. If the announcement did not involve me, the envelope would stay closed. At 7:30, Linda called. Did I wake you? No. I wanted to speak before we all arrive. All right. She sounded tired. Whitney is very hurt by your message. My message was accurate. I said that. Thank you. She feels you could have called her privately. I did. Yesterday. Linda paused. I didn't know that. She called me after speaking to you. I asked her to correct the story. And she wouldn't? She defended it. Linda sighed. I'm sorry I repeated what she told me. That mattered more than I expected. Thank you for saying that. I should have asked you first. Yes. She accepted the answer. Then she said, I don't want today to become about me. Neither do I. Whitney keeps saying the family table is for the announcement. That's between you and Whitney. She said, you'll be included. In what? The meal. Where? She didn't say. Linda became quiet. I could hear a drawer opening on her end. Ruth, would you like me to ask? No. Why not? Because Nathan promised me a chair. I'm going to see what that means. That sounds ominous. It isn't. I could save you a place beside me. I held the phone more tightly. It was kind. It was also too late. No, I said. Please don't move your card or change your place. Why? Because I want to see the plan they made. You could sit with us. If they intended that, it will already be arranged. And if it isn't, then we'll all know. She didn't reply. I added, I'm not asking you to choose sides. I understand. Do you? I think so. Then sit where Whitney placed you. All right. After we ended the call, I wrote one more line in my notebook. Linda offered to save a seat. Declined. I didn't decline because I wanted humiliation. I declined because I was finished helping Nathan avoid the result of his own choices. If Linda moved a card, Whitney could say the chart had always included me. Nathan could claim he thought the adjustment was settled. I wasn't going to arrange their answer for them. At 8, the family message sounded again. Whitney had written, For everyone's peace of mind, Ruth is invited as a guest. There will be a place for her. Let's end this discussion and enjoy brunch. I read it carefully. She had finally written that I was a guest. The sentence appeared only after 5 adults saw the correction. Still, it was useful. I replied, Thank you. I'll arrive at 9:45. Linda added a heart. Amy wrote, See everyone soon. Gabriel did not respond. The conversation ended there. For the first time all week, I had a statement in writing. I had not asked for affection. I had asked for accuracy. That worked once. It also gave Whitney a target. She now knew I would correct her where other people could see. At 8:20, she called me privately. I hope you're satisfied. I'm getting dressed. You forced me to explain family business to my family. You told them your version first. I was asking my mother for support, at my expense. That is not what I intended. It is what happened. I carried the phone upstairs. Whitney continued. Linda is now questioning the whole event. What is she questioning? The seating, the announcement, everything. You told her I would be included. I said there would be a place. Then there is nothing to worry about. She went silent. I opened my jewelry box and took out the silver pin. Ruth, listen to me. I'm listening. If you come in looking for a public correction, you will find a problem. What does that mean? It means this is our place of business. I know the address. We have the right to protect service. From what? Disruption. I fastened the pin near my collar. Are you withdrawing my invitation? No. Are you asking me not to attend? No. Then say what you're asking. I'm asking you to behave like family. Which family? She exhaled sharply. I'm not doing this again. You called me. I'm telling you that customers don't need to hear private financial matters. Then don't make a public announcement based on private financial support. Her voice dropped. What did you do? I looked at the envelope in my handbag. I asked the bank what I'm responsible for. That isn't what I asked. It is what I'm willing to discuss. Did you change anything? I didn't answer. Ruth? You should speak to Nathan. He says you won't tell him. That's true. This is cruel. No, it is private. You're using uncertainty to frighten us. You used certainty to spend my name. She stopped breathing for a second. Then she said, if you embarrass us today, I won't forget it. I'm not asking you to forget anything. She hung up. I placed the telephone on my dresser. At 8:45, I put on my coat. The envelope stayed in my handbag. Before leaving, I checked the family message once more. Ruth is invited as a guest. There will be a place for her. I took a screenshot. Then I closed the lockbox, turned off the kitchen light, and drove toward Maple Street, knowing Whitney was no longer preparing only for brunch. She was preparing for me. I reached the public lot before 9. The restaurant was only half a block away. I could see the back windows from my car. Kitchen lights were on. 2 workers carried trays through the side door. Nathan stood outside, holding it open. He saw my car. I looked at the clock. I was early, so I stayed where I was. My telephone rang. Mom, are you in the lot? Yes. Can you come inside? It isn't 9:45. I need to show you something before guests arrive. What? Just come to the side entrance. I didn't move. Is Whitney with you? Yes. Then tell me what this is about. He covered the phone. I could see him speaking to someone inside. Then Whitney came through the doorway. She looked toward my car. Mom, Nathan said, please. I took my handbag and locked the car. Whitney waited with her arms crossed. She wore a cream blouse and dark trousers. Her expression looked calm from a distance. It wasn't calm when I reached her. You're very early, she said. So are you. I own the restaurant. I remember. Nathan stepped between us. Let's go into the office. The kitchen was already warm. Pans moved across the stove. Coffee filled the air. Nobody asked me to touch it. We walked through the narrow hallway. Nathan entered the reservation office first. Whitney followed me and closed the door. The seating chart lay face down on her desk. Beside it were stacks of printed cards. They were larger than place cards and smaller than menus. Nathan picked up one. We added something to the announcement. He handed it to me. At the top was a drawing of the proposed patio. Below it were 3 short paragraphs about summer dining. The last paragraph thanked people who had supported Millstone Table. My name appeared in the first sentence. I read it twice. Then I looked at Whitney. Remove my name. She leaned against the desk. You asked to be treated like family. I did not ask you to use my name in advertising. It isn't advertising. It's acknowledgement. Of what? Your support. What support are you announcing? Everything you've done. That isn't what the sentence says. Nathan took the card from me. It doesn't mention the guarantee. Most people won't connect those things. I connect them. Whitney opened a drawer. We printed one for every place setting. How many? 180. You printed them this morning? Yesterday afternoon, after I asked you to remove my photograph. This is different. No. Nathan placed the card on the desk. We thought it would make you feel included. You thought wrong. His face tightened. Nothing is enough. I asked for a place with my family. You printed my name on your financing announcement. It isn't a financing announcement. How are you paying for the patio? Whitney stepped forward. Did you revoke the guarantee? I looked at her. Remove my name from the cards. Answer me. That is my answer. No, it isn't. Nathan put one hand against the door. Mom, we need to know. You needed to know when you planned the advance. You chose not to ask. We're asking now, after you spent money. Whitney pointed to the stack. After you forced us to question whether our own loan will close. Your loan should not depend on guessing what I'll accept. You signed the guarantee. I did. You knew it continued. I did. Then why are you acting betrayed? Because a right in a contract is not permission in a family. Whitney laughed once. That sounds very polished. It sounds clear. You've been planning what to say. I've had to. Nathan picked up the card again. Can we solve one thing at a time? Yes. Remove my name. We don't have time to reprint. Cross it out. On 180 cards? Yes. Whitney stared at me. You cannot be serious. I am. That will look ridiculous. Then remove the cards. The announcement details are on them. Announce without them. She turned to Nathan. Do you see what she's doing? He didn't answer. Whitney continued. She wanted recognition. We gave it to her. Now she wants us to destroy the materials. I didn't ask for recognition. You asked for a family place. That is not the same thing. It is to you. No. One is belonging, the other is use. Nathan rubbed his forehead. Please stop. Whitney faced me again. If we remove your name, will you confirm the guarantee is active? There it was, the trade. A blank chair had become printed gratitude. Printed gratitude had become the price of my silence. No, I said. Then this has nothing to do with your name. It has everything to do with my name. She picked up the stack and held it against her chest. We are not changing these. Then do not place one in front of me. You're a guest. Guests get them. I do not consent to that sentence. Nathan said, It's only a thank you. Then thank me for what I actually did. What wording do you want? I looked at him. You still think wording is the problem. He set the card down. What do you expect us to do 45 minutes before service? Take responsibility for what you printed. Whitney moved behind the desk. Here's what's going to happen. You will sit down. You will have brunch. Nathan will thank everyone. Then we will announce the expansion. Using my name? The cards are already printed. Then I will correct the meaning. Her eyes narrowed. In my dining room? If my name is used there? You would interrupt an event over one sentence? I would answer one. Nathan stepped closer. Mom, don't. Then remove it. We can't. You won't. He looked toward the stacks. I could see him counting the inconvenience. Staff time, reprinting, guest questions, Whitney's anger. My consent was once again the easiest thing to move. Whitney turned the seating chart over another way, keeping its writing hidden. We made room for you, she said. Where? You'll see when the dining room opens. Tell me. Why? So you can object to that too? You promised a place, and you have one. Nathan nodded. You do. Have you seen it? He glanced at Whitney. Yes. That was new. Where is it? He looked at the closed office door. We need to start service. Whitney stepped around the desk. We are done negotiating. I wasn't negotiating. You were. You wanted a seat. We found one. You wanted to be acknowledged. We printed your name. I asked you to remove it, and I said no. Her voice stayed low. That made it colder. You can either accept what we arranged or leave. Nathan looked at her. Whitney. No, she needs to decide. I turned to him. Is that your position? He took too long. I want you to stay. That wasn't my question. He looked at the floor. This is our business, and I am your mother. Both things can be true. Then answer. He finally met my eyes. If you intend to disrupt the announcement, maybe it would be better to go home. The words settled without drama. No raised voice, no slammed door. Just my son standing beside his wife, asking me to protect their announcement or leave. I opened my handbag. Nathan watched my hand. I took out the thin envelope but did not open it. Whitney's eyes moved to the bank name printed on one corner of the receipt inside. What is that? she asked. Mine. Is that from Friday? I put the envelope back. You don't get to inspect my papers. Nathan's face had gone pale. Did you file something? I closed my handbag. I gave you a private chance to discuss the loan. Answer me. You asked me to leave the guarantee alone. You didn't ask whether I was willing. Did you file something? A kitchen timer rang down the hall. Someone knocked on the office door. Nathan, we need the dining room keys. He opened the door a few inches and handed them through. Then he closed it again. Whitney said, if you revoked it, you may have put the existing loan at risk. No, I said. The existing balance remains guaranteed. She stopped. Nathan stared at me. You knew that? Yes. How much do you know? Enough to understand my responsibility. Whitney's voice became quieter. If the advance fails, we lose the design money. Nathan told me, we may owe cancellation charges. You signed those contracts. We signed them because the bank said the package worked. The package included me. You had never objected before. You had never told me before. Nathan leaned against the door. If the patio falls apart, the restaurant takes the loss. That makes the current loan harder to pay. I understand. Then you understand you could hurt yourself. Yes, that was the true price. Stopping new exposure did not remove the old balance. If the restaurant lost money, the $96,000 could become more dangerous. Letting the advance proceed might protect the current payments. It would also add $80,000 to what my name supported. Either choice carried risk. Whitney saw my hesitation. Her voice softened. We can fix the family part. How? You'll sit. You'll be thanked. After brunch, we can talk about paying you for some office work. I'm not returning to the office work. Fine. Then we won't ask. Nathan added, we'll send you monthly loan updates. After the new advance closes. Yes. They were offering respect after receiving the money. Whitney came closer. If you haven't filed anything, leave it alone. If you have, call the bank tomorrow and reverse it. I can't erase a received notice with a telephone call. Her face changed. That was not a confession. It was enough to sharpen her suspicion. You did something, she said. I learned what the paper means. You're willing to risk the restaurant. I'm unwilling to add more risk without consent. For a chair. No. She waited. I did not explain again. The dining room doors opened down the hall. I heard chairs moving and music beginning. Nathan checked the time. Guests will arrive soon. I looked at him. Do you want me here as your mother? Yes, without conditions. He glanced at Whitney. I want today to go well. That is a condition. He said nothing. I walked to the door. Whitney called after me. If you go into that room, you accept the arrangement. I turned. No, I accept the cost of seeing it. I opened the office door. The hallway smelled of coffee and warm bread. Staff moved around me carrying plates. I could still leave. The revocation would remain at the bank. The restaurant would learn soon enough. Nathan could tell everyone I had stayed home angry. Whitney could keep my printed name and explain my absence however she chose. Or I could walk into the room and refuse both parts. The extra risk, the false gratitude. I put one hand on my handbag and continued toward the dining room. Halfway down the hall, my telephone vibrated. I stepped into the small service alcove. Staff passed without looking at me. One carried a basket of folded napkins. The message came from the bank's secure system. Formal acknowledgement available. My fingers felt cold as I opened it. The page showed my name, the restaurant loan, and the date my notice had been received. Beneath that was one plain sentence. My revocation was effective for advances made after the bank received it. The existing balance remained covered. The planned advance had not been funded before my notice. I read each line twice. There was no opinion about my family, no judgment about the brunch. The bank had done exactly what Kevin said it would do. It had recorded my instruction. A final note said any related borrower communication would go to the business email in the loan file. That removed the last uncertainty. Nathan might find replacement security later. He might arrange a different loan. Those choices belonged to him and Whitney. The bank could not use my existing guarantee for the new advance. I saved the acknowledgement to my telephone. Then I opened the family message. My thumb rested over the attachment button. I could have sent the acknowledgement to all of them. Linda would have known. Amy and Gabriel would have known. Whitney would have lost control of the explanation before the first guest removed a coat. I closed the message without sending anything. The debt amounts were not Linda's business. They weren't Amy's or Gabriel's either. I had corrected the story about my work because Whitney had spread it through the family. I would not spread their loan because I could. What are you doing back here? Whitney stood at the end of the hall, reading a message. From whom? That's private. Her eyes moved to my handbag. You shouldn't be in the service area. Nathan asked me to use the side entrance. Guests should go through the front. I'll do that. I walked past her. She followed me into the foyer. The front doors were still locked. Outside, several people waited beneath the awning. Whitney checked the time. You have 20 minutes. I know. Then why are you here? Your husband saw my car. She adjusted a stack of menus. Did the bank contact you? Yes. Her hand stopped. What did they say? They acknowledged my instruction. Her face became still. What instruction? I'll discuss it with you and Nathan together. We're together now. Nathan isn't here. Tell me. No, you cannot walk into my restaurant holding something over us. It is Nathan's restaurant, too. That isn't the point. It usually becomes the point when you need my support. The front door rattled. Linda stood outside with Amy and Gabriel. Whitney looked at them, then at me. Do not say anything in front of my family. I have no plan to discuss the loan with them. Then why did you bring bank papers? I brought my own records. You're preparing a scene. No, you printed my name into one. She unlocked the door. Linda entered first. She wore a light green coat and carried a small purse. Amy and Gabriel followed behind her. Linda smiled when she saw me. You're here. I said I would be. She touched my arm. I'm glad. Amy gave me a short nod. Gabriel looked toward the dining room. Whitney locked the door again. We're not quite ready, she said. You can wait here. Gabriel picked up one of the printed cards from the host desk. This looks good. Amy leaned over his shoulder. Is that the patio? Whitney's expression brightened. That's the rendering. Linda took the card when Gabriel finished. She read the last paragraph. Then she looked at me. I didn't know they were thanking you. They didn't ask. Whitney stepped closer. It's a surprise acknowledgement. I asked her to remove my name, I said. Linda looked between us. Why? Because the sentence suggests support for the expansion. Aren't you supporting it? Amy asked. I met her eyes. That is private. Gabriel placed both hands in his coat pockets. Everything seems to be private today. The restaurant loan is. He gave a small shrug. Fine. Linda handed the card back to Whitney. If Ruth doesn't want her name printed, why not remove it? Because these were expensive, Whitney said. How expensive? That doesn't matter. Then take them off the tables. Whitney's mouth tightened. We are not redesigning brunch at the door. Linda looked at me. I can speak to her. You already did. I mean now. No. Why not? Because I don't want you repairing a decision you didn't make. Amy sighed. Can everybody please stop making this so serious? I turned to her. Your name isn't on the card. No, but I wouldn't mind if it were. That is why consent belongs to the person named. She looked away. Gabriel said, Whitney was trying to be gracious. I told her no. That doesn't make her a villain. I didn't call her one. He glanced at Whitney. She stood behind the host desk, holding the cards against her body. I asked Gabriel, what did she tell you? That you were upset about helping. And that you thought Linda was getting special treatment. Linda frowned. I didn't know she said that. Whitney's face flushed. I said Ruth was sensitive about the family table. That isn't the same thing, Gabriel said. It is close enough. No, I said, it isn't. Amy took out her telephone. This is why the group message was a mistake. The group message is why we can compare what we were told. Whitney looked at me sharply. You've been collecting statements. I have been saving messages sent to me. That is deeply unhealthy. Then stop sending things you don't want saved. Nathan entered from the dining room. He took in the 6 of us standing near the desk. What happened? Your mother told Whitney she heard from the bank, Linda said. Whitney turned on her. I asked you not to get involved. You involved me first. Nathan looked at me. What did the bank say? Not here. Come into the office. No. His eyes widened. Why not? Because I already gave you that conversation. This is new information. It is confirmation of old information. He moved closer. Did you revoke the guarantee? Whitney watched me. So did her family. I could have answered. The pressure in that foyer would have disappeared. The argument would have moved behind a closed door. Nathan could cancel the announcement quietly. Guests might never know there had been a patio plan. Whitney could remove the cards and later say the printer made an error. I looked at the card in her hands. Remove my name, I said. Nathan stared at me. You're bargaining? No, I am refusing consent. What happens if we remove it? You stop creating a false public impression. And the loan, you check your business email. He pulled out his telephone. Whitney reached for it. Not in front of them. Nathan lowered the phone. That was her choice. She did not want Linda, Amy, or Gabriel to see a bank message. She also did not want to step away before guests arrived. Nathan slipped the phone back into his pocket. I checked email before I left home. Check it again before the announcement. Why? Because I am telling you to. Whitney laughed without humor. You expect us to stop service and chase a mysterious email? I expect business owners to confirm their financing before announcing it. It was confirmed Friday, Nathan said. By whom? The bank. Before or after lunch? He looked uncertain. I don't know. Then check. Linda touched Nathan's sleeve. You should probably look. Whitney moved between them. We have guests waiting. You still have 15 minutes, I said. She looked at the wall clock. Then she handed the stack of cards to Amy. Please put these back on the desk. Amy obeyed. Whitney said to Nathan, the closing package was approved. This is another attempt to frighten us. Nathan looked at me. Is it? No. If something changed, tell me. I tried to discuss my consent in private. You asked me not to disrupt the financing. Because we thought you were upset. I was clear. Not about filing anything. I asked whether you would seek my consent if the bank didn't require it. He rubbed his mouth. Linda watched him. What did you say? She asked. Nathan didn't answer. She asked again. Nathan, what did you say? I said we had relied on the existing papers. That's not consent, Linda said. Whitney faced her mother. Please stay out of this. Linda lifted one hand. All right. She stepped back. That small movement changed something. She did not defend me again. She didn't need to. The question remained in the foyer. Nathan's telephone sounded. He looked at the screen. A kitchen message. Dining room is ready, he said. Whitney unlocked the front doors. The waiting guests began entering. Her expression changed at once. She smiled and welcomed them. She took coats. She asked about reservations. Nathan turned to me. Please tell me now. Check your business email. I will after the first seating. That is your decision. You know I can't stand here reading loan documents. You can step into the office for 2 minutes. Whitney called his name from the host desk. He looked toward her, then back at me. If you've done what I think you did, this changes everything. Yes, you may lose the restaurant too. I know what remains guaranteed. You could lose me. He said it quietly. That was the permanent cost, not the patio, not the printed cards. My son was telling me that protecting myself might end our relationship. I could have opened the envelope. I could have offered to sign something new on Monday. I could have asked the bank to reconsider after they found me a proper chair. That would make my boundary another temporary service. I kept the envelope closed. I hope I don't lose you, I said, but I won't buy your place in my life. His eyes filled. He looked away before anything fell. Whitney called him again. This time he went. Linda, Amy, and Gabriel moved toward the dining room. A server took their coats and led them ahead. I waited until the foyer cleared. Then I checked the bank acknowledgement one last time. Received. Recorded. Future advances excluded. I locked my telephone and returned it to my handbag. The easier choices were gone now. I could not save Nathan from the consequence without giving him the same power again. I could not preserve our old relationship without returning to my old role. At 9:45, the dining room doors opened fully. I put my hand on the brass handle and followed the three Matthews names toward the window. The first card stood beside the window. Linda Matthews. Amy's card was beside it. Gabriel's was beside hers. 3 chairs faced the room. White tulips stood between the water glasses. The printed patio cards rested above each plate. I looked at the remaining chairs. Everyone had a place card. Nathan's name was at one end. Whitney's was at the other. Mine was nowhere. A server approached me. "May I take your coat?" I gave it to her. "Where am I sitting?" She checked a folded sheet in her hand. "What name?" "Ruth Graham." Her finger moved down the page. "I'm sorry. Let me ask Nathan." She hurried toward the kitchen. Linda saw me from the window table. She looked at the empty space beside Amy, then at the other tables. Her expression changed. "Ruth," she called. "Come here." Whitney reached me first. "You made it." "Where is my place?" "We're finding a chair. You said there was one." "There is." "Where?" She looked toward the service station. A small round table stood beside the coffee urns. It held extra cups, spoons, and folded napkins. There was no place setting. Nathan came through the kitchen door carrying a wooden chair. He stopped when he saw me looking at the service table. "Mom, I can put this here." He set the chair beside the extra cups, not at the family table. Beside the work, I had refused. I looked at Linda's card again, then Amy's, then Gabriel's. Nathan kept one hand on the chair. "It's just until the first seating shifts. What happens then? We'll move you." "Where?" "To the long table. The long table is full. We'll make room." "When?" "Mom, guests are coming in." I looked at him. "You promised me a chair." "I brought one." "That isn't a place." Whitney stepped closer. "We had 2 late reservations. Did they take my seat?" "We had to adjust. Where was my original seat?" She didn't answer. "Nathan?" His hand dropped from the chair. "Whitney thought you could start here, at the service station. Only for a few minutes." "Doing what?" He lowered his voice. "If you could watch the coffee until the toast, that would help." Linda stood. "Nathan." He looked toward her. She pointed to the 3 place cards. "You told me Ruth was included." "She is." "Where?" "We're solving it." Amy moved her purse from the chair beside her. "She can sit here." "That chair is yours," I said. "I can move." "No." Gabriel looked at the service table. "There's no plate there." Whitney's face tightened. We were about to set it. "With coffee cups?" Linda asked. "Can everybody please stop?" More guests entered. Several turned toward us. Nathan picked up the chair again. "Mom, sit here for now. I'll bring you a plate." "No." His voice dropped. "Please don't do this. I'm standing where you placed me." "We didn't place you there. You carried the chair." Whitney took the chair from him and pushed it closer to the table. "There. Now you have somewhere to sit." "No." "What do you want?" "My place at my son's table." "There is no room." The words came out before she could soften them. Linda looked down at her card. Amy stopped moving her purse. Gabriel stared at Whitney. I asked, "When did you decide that?" "We finalized the chart last night. After you wrote that, I had a place. We planned to make one. You planned to add a chair beside the coffee. It was the only practical option." Nathan said, "That's enough." I turned to him. Did you approve this? He looked at the guests around us. Can we talk privately? We already did. Not here. Did you approve it? Whitney touched his arm. Nathan, service. He pulled his arm away. Then he looked at me. Yes. The room seemed to become quieter. He had approved it. That answer closed the last door. I nodded once. Thank you for telling the truth. Whitney picked up one of the printed patio cards. We need to begin. She walked toward the front of the room. Nathan stayed beside me. Mom, I'm sorry. You're sorry people heard. No. Then fix the sentence on those cards. We can discuss that after. You have supported us. Not this. His face changed. What did the bank say? Before I could answer, Whitney tapped a spoon against a glass. People turned toward her. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Millstone Table. Nathan looked toward the front. Whitney smiled at the room. We're honored that so many families chose to spend Mother's Day with us. Staff closed the dining room doors. Nathan whispered, Please wait. For what? Let me get through the welcome. He left me beside the service station. I remained standing. Whitney thanked the kitchen. She thanked the servers. Then she looked toward the window table. I especially want to recognize my mother, Linda, and my sister and brother, Amy and Gabriel. People applauded. Linda did not smile. Whitney continued, They've supported this restaurant from the beginning. That wasn't true, but I let it pass. It wasn't my correction to make. Then Whitney looked toward me. And Nathan's mother, Ruth, has given years of time behind the scenes. More applause. Several guests turned in their chairs. I stood beside the coffee urns with no plate. Whitney held up the printed card. Today's announcement is possible because family support gives a small business room to grow. There it was. She had committed to the meaning I had refused. Nathan stood near the kitchen entrance. His hands were at his sides. I said, Whitney. My voice carried farther than I expected. She kept smiling. We'll have questions after the toast. This cannot wait until after. A few people looked at Nathan. Whitney lowered the card. Ruth, please sit down. There is no place setting for me. Someone near the front turned to look at the service table. Whitney's smile disappeared. We offered you a chair. Beside the coffee, you asked me to pour. Nathan came toward me. Mom. I looked at him. You saved 3 seats for your wife's family. He glanced toward the window. And where did you save mine? He stopped. No one spoke. I heard plates moving in the kitchen. A server stood near the door holding a pot of coffee. She didn't know whether to continue. Nathan looked at the chair he had carried. I thought we could add one. After the room was set. Yes, because you approved Whitney's chart. His voice was barely above a whisper. Yes. I reached into my handbag. Whitney stepped down from the front. Do not do this here. You used my name here. I removed the thin envelope. Nathan looked at the bank receipt showing through the opening. What did you file? A written revocation. His face went blank. Whitney shook her head. No, I ended my guarantee for future advances. You can't. I did. That guarantee continues, for the existing balance. She looked at Nathan. She's bluffing. I verified it with the bank before I filed. Nathan held out his hand. Let me see. I gave him the stamped copy. He read the first lines, then he read them again. Whitney grabbed the page. This doesn't cancel our loan. No. She looked up quickly. The current loan remains. Yes. Then the expansion advance still closes. No. My guarantee no longer covers new borrowing. Whitney laughed. It was too loud. That is not how commercial financing works. It is how this guarantee works. I revoked it in writing before the new advance. You cannot withdraw because of a seating disagreement. The bank does not require your approval of my reason. Nathan took out his telephone. His fingers moved across the screen. Whitney turned toward the guests. I'm sorry. This is a private family misunderstanding. No, I said. The family part was private until you printed my name. She walked back to the front. The announcement will continue. Nathan should check his business email. She ignored me. This summer, Millstone Table will add outdoor seating along our back wall. A few people clapped uncertainly. Nathan stared at his screen. Whitney continued, "The new patio will give us space for evening dinners, community events, and private celebrations." Nathan said her name. She did not stop. "Construction is expected to begin soon." "Whitney." This time, his voice cut across the room. She turned. He held the telephone against his chest. "What?" "The bank sent an acknowledgement." She walked toward him. "When?" "It's in the business email. Give me that." She took the phone. Her eyes moved across the screen. Then she scrolled back and read again. "What does it say?" Linda asked. Whitney did not answer. Nathan took the phone from her. His face looked older than it had that morning. He read aloud. "The bank received Ruth's written revocation before the planned advance. Her guarantee does not support future advances." No one moved. Amy placed one hand over her mouth. Gabriel looked down at his printed card. Whitney whispered, "There has to be another way." Nathan kept reading silently. "What else?" she asked. He answered without looking up. "The $80,000 advance cannot close under the current package. They need replacement security. We can provide it." "With what?" "Not here." "You wanted the announcement here." Her eyes filled. "We can call Kevin tomorrow. The contracts start this week. We can delay them. We don't have the money." Her voice sharpened. "Stop saying that." Nathan looked around the dining room. Every table was watching. The printed cards sat in front of them. My name remained in the last paragraph. He walked to the front. Whitney reached for his arm. "Don't." He pulled away. Then he faced the room. "I need to correct what we just announced." His voice shook. He cleared his throat. "The financing for the patio is not available." A guest near the center lowered his coffee cup. Nathan continued, "We cannot proceed with the project." Whitney whispered, "Say delayed." He looked at her. "We signed work based on a closing that now cannot happen. We can replace the guarantee, not before the contracts begin. Say postponed." Nathan closed his eyes for 1 second. When he opened them, he looked at me. I did not nod. I did not rescue him. He turned back to the room. "The patio project is canceled." No one applauded. The music continued softly from the ceiling speakers. Nathan placed the printed card on the nearest table. "I'm sorry. We should not have announced it before the funding closed." That was the first public sentence of responsibility he had spoken. Whitney stood beside him, pale and silent. I put the stamp notice back into my envelope. A server approached the coffee station. She looked at the spare chair, then at me. "Mrs. Graham, would you like me to set a place somewhere?" Nathan heard her. He looked toward the window table. All 3 chairs he had saved were occupied. Then he looked at the service station. He understood what the room could now see. "No," I said. "Please continue serving your guests." I picked up my coat from the rack. Nathan stepped away from the front. "Mom, wait." Whitney found her voice. "You humiliated us." I fastened the top button of my coat. "You announced money you did not have. You made sure we didn't have it. I stopped adding my name to it." Nathan stood between us. "Please, both of you." I looked at him. There were never both of us making this decision. His eyes dropped. Around us, people began speaking quietly. Forks touched plates. Staff resumed pouring coffee. The restaurant did not collapse. Brunch continued. Only the false announcement had ended. I put my handbag over my shoulder and walked toward the front door while Nathan followed me through the room he had finally been forced to see. He caught the door before it closed. "Mom, don't leave." I stepped onto the sidewalk. Cold air touched my face. Behind us, the restaurant kept serving brunch. Nathan came outside without his coat. "You need to call the bank tomorrow." "No, just hear me. I heard you inside. We can still save the contracts. Find replacement security. You know we don't have it. Then you planned a project you couldn't support." He looked through the front window. "Did you have to announce the revocation in there? Did Whitney have to use my name? You could have pulled me aside. I asked you to check your email 5 minutes before service. I gave you the private conversation days ago." He crossed his arms against the cold. "You wanted this to happen in front of people. I wanted a place at your table. We gave you one. You carried a chair to the coffee station. It was temporary. Everything you ask from me is temporary. The risk isn't." He looked down the street. "Whitney says you planned this. I filed before she made the seating final. You suspected what she would do. I knew what both of you had already done." His eyes filled again. "You humiliated me in my own restaurant." "No. I made you correct your own announcement. You knew the financing was gone." "Yes. And you let us announce. I told you to check the email. That's not enough." "What would have been enough?" "Tell me directly." "I tried. You asked me to leave the guarantee alone." He rubbed both hands over his face. "I can't believe you did this. I believe you approved that chair." The front door opened. Whitney came out carrying my stamped copy. She had taken it from the envelope while Nathan read the bank message. I hadn't noticed. She held it toward me. "Reverse this. Give me my paper. I'm serious." "So am I." I took the page from her. She did not let go immediately. "If you call Kevin first thing tomorrow, maybe they can restore the package. It would require a new arrangement. Then sign one." "No." Her hand dropped. "We will lose thousands. You had already committed that money because we relied on you without asking. You keep saying that as if it changes the contract. It changed my decision." She looked through the window. Guests were watching us. Then she stepped closer. "You made my mother look like she took your place. Linda sat where you placed her. You made Amy and Gabriel look selfish. They used the seats you saved. They didn't know." "I know." That answer stopped her briefly. I wasn't blaming her family for sitting down. I was blaming the people who arranged the room. Whitney said, "You're going to regret this." "Perhaps. The restaurant still owes $96,000. I know. If business suffers, you remain responsible. I know. You could lose money because you denied us money." "Yes." She wanted that fact to scare me back into obedience. It scared me. It did not change my answer. The door opened again. Linda stepped outside with her coat over one arm. "Whitney, go back inside," she said. "This is my restaurant. Then attend to your guests." Whitney looked at her mother. "You're taking her side?" "I'm asking why her name was on a card when she told you to remove it. We were thanking her. She said no." Whitney's mouth tightened. "Please don't do this, Mom." Linda looked through the glass at the window table. "You put my children beside me. You left his mother by the coffee. We were going to move her." "When?" Whitney did not answer. Linda put on her coat. "I'm leaving." "During brunch?" "I've lost my appetite." Amy and Gabriel appeared inside the foyer. Amy carried Linda's purse. Gabriel had all 3 printed patio cards folded in one hand. Whitney looked at them. "Are you leaving too?" Amy gave Linda her purse. "I'm taking Mom home." Gabriel stayed near the door. "This has gotten out of control," he said. Whitney pointed at me. "She canceled our financing." "I ended future liability," I said. "Same thing," he replied. "No, the current loan remains." He looked at Nathan. "Is that true?" Nathan nodded. Gabriel looked at the folded cards in his hand. "Then why did you announce the patio was funded?" Whitney said the bank had approved the package, with Ruth's guarantee. "Yes." "Did she know?" Nathan answered. "She knew the guarantee continued." "That isn't what I asked." Nathan didn't speak. Gabriel shook his head. "You all should have handled this privately." "We tried," I said. He looked at me. "You still could have left. So could the sentence with my name." He had no answer to that. Amy touched my sleeve. "I'm sorry about my message." "Which part?" "The part about boundaries." She glanced at Whitney. "I didn't know about the loan. You didn't need to. You needed to know I hadn't volunteered." She nodded. "That's fair." It was not a full apology. It was enough for that moment. Linda turned to me. "Do you need a ride? My car is nearby, all right?" She kissed my cheek. Then she left with Amy. Gabriel handed the folded cards to Nathan. "You should take these off the tables." Whitney stared at him. "You're serious?" "Yes." He followed Linda and Amy down the sidewalk. Whitney watched them go. Then she turned to me. "Are you happy now?" "No." I put the stamped notice inside my handbag. "I'm going home." Nathan remained outside while I walked away. He did not follow again. At home, I hung the blue dress in the closet. I removed the silver pin and placed it in my jewelry box. Then I made scrambled eggs I had not eaten at the restaurant. Around 3, the patio announcement disappeared from the public page. At 3:20, a new post appeared. Whitney wrote that Millstone Table had postponed its expansion because of an unexpected change in family support. She thanked customers for their understanding. She did not mention the unfunded loan. She did not mention the seating. She made my decision sound sudden. Comments appeared quickly. Most were sympathetic. A few asked what had changed. One person posted a photograph from Brunch. It showed the 3 place cards by the window. In the background, I stood beside the coffee station. Another person posted a picture of the printed patio card with my name. Their own materials answered more than Whitney intended. I waited 30 minutes. Then I wrote 1 public response. I added 2 more sentences. I did not withdraw support from the existing restaurant loan. I ended my responsibility for new advances after learning more borrowing was planned without my consent. I read it once. Then I posted it. Linda replied beneath me. I saw the 3 reserved seats and the chair beside the coffee station. Ruth's account is accurate. That was all she wrote. Amy did not comment. Gabriel did not comment. Whitney deleted the entire restaurant post 12 minutes later. She could remove it from the page. She could not remove the screenshots people had already taken. Nathan called at 4. I answered. "Take down your comment," he said. "The post is gone. People saved it. They saved Whitney's post first. You made the loan public. She blamed a change in family support. You could have called us. You called to demand I reverse it." His voice sounded tired. "We had to cancel the patio contractor. That was necessary. We lost the design deposit. I'm sorry." "No, you're not. I am sorry you lost money. I'm not sorry I stopped guaranteeing more." He went quiet. Then he said, "The bank wants a revised plan by Friday. For the existing loan? No. For any expansion request. Then withdraw the request. Whitney doesn't want to." "What do you want?" "I don't know." "You publicly canceled the project. I had no choice." "You did. You told the truth. That doesn't make it feel good. I didn't expect it to." He breathed into the phone. "We need the March invoice binder. You took it yesterday. I can't find the linen pages. They're under the yellow divider." Silence. I had answered automatically. Nathan said, "Can you come help?" "No." "Mom, you have the binder." "I don't know your system. The notes explain it. We're already behind." "Then begin." He hung up. The next day, Whitney called 3 times. I did not answer. Her first message said the bank might reconsider if I submitted a new guarantee. Her second said Nathan was barely sleeping. Her third said I had no idea what restaurant ownership required. I saved all 3. On Tuesday evening, Nathan came to my house. He stood on the porch holding the blue invoice binder. I opened the screen but did not invite him inside. "What do you need?" "I found the linen pages." "Good." "We canceled the remaining patio contracts." I waited. "There are cancellation charges," he said. "We'll pay them from our personal account. That is your decision. We also canceled a trip in June." I didn't know about the trip. He looked embarrassed. "We need the money." "All right. Whitney wants me to ask one more time. For the guarantee? Yes. No." "I told her you'd say that." "Then why come?" He held the binder against his chest. "I wanted you to know we're handling the invoices. That is part of running your business. I know." He looked toward my kitchen. For years he had walked through that door with work. Now he stood outside, holding it himself. "I'm sorry about the chair," he said. I didn't answer. I should have stopped her. "You approved it." I know. You carried it to the coffee station. His eyes dropped. I know. An apology did not change that image. What are you sorry for? I asked. He thought before answering. For choosing the easiest answer every time. That was closer. I opened the screen another inch. Are you asking me to forgive you? No. Are you asking me for money? No. Then what are you asking? He looked at the binder. I don't know yet. Come back when you do. He nodded. Then he carried the invoices back to his car, still responsible for every page. The blue binder did not return. Neither did another box, folder, or request. For the first week, Nathan sent short messages, canceled lighting order, called furniture supplier, paid cancellation charge. None included a question. On Friday, he forwarded the bank's revised loan summary. The patio advance had been removed. The existing balance remained on its regular payment schedule. I printed the page and put it with my guarantee. Whitney left no more messages. The restaurant stayed open. Tables filled. Food went out. Bills arrived. Nobody called me to sort them. 2 weeks after brunch, Nathan asked whether he could visit. Are you bringing work? I asked. No. Do you need money? No. Then come at 4. He arrived at 3:58. He knocked and waited. I opened the door. May I come in? He asked. Yes. He carried no binder. That mattered. We sat in the kitchen. I made tea. He watched me place 2 mugs on the table. We made the first payment since the expansion was canceled, he said. You were already making payments. We added money from our personal account. How much? Enough to cover the cancellation charges without missing the loan payment. That is responsible. He looked surprised by the word. We also cut some expenses. The trip, that and other things. I waited. He folded his hands. Whitney is still angry. I assumed. She thinks you wanted people to turn against her. I wanted her to stop speaking for me. I know. Do you? Yes. He looked toward the hallway. I read all your vendor notes. How did that go? Badly. I almost smiled. He did first. You had a system for everything. I wrote labels. I know. I ignored them. He rubbed his palms together. I spent 6 hours comparing the linen bills. Did you find the duplicate? Yes. Good. I also found another one. Then the 6 hours were useful. He nodded. No request followed. That was the first test. He could describe difficulty without handing it back to me. Before leaving, he carried his mug to the sink. May I call next week? You may. He did. The calls were awkward. Some lasted less than 5 minutes. He asked about my garden. He told me the lunch special. When he mentioned invoices, he did not ask what to do. At the end of June, he sent the monthly loan statement. The balance had gone down. He did the same in July. Each statement arrived without a message about the guarantee. I kept them in the brown folder. In August, he came to repair the loose railing on my porch. He had noticed it during his earlier visit. Would you like me to fix this? He asked. He did not arrive with tools and decide for me. Yes, I said. I would. He replaced 2 screws and tightened the bottom bracket. The work took 20 minutes. I brought him lemonade. He sat on the porch step afterward. I need to say something, he said. All right. I blamed Whitney because it was easier. For the seating? For all of it. I sat in the chair beside him. She made the chart, he continued. But I saw it Saturday night. You told me you approved it. I did. I saw your name wasn't there. My hand stayed around the cold glass. What did you think? I thought we could add you somewhere. By the coffee. Yes. Why didn't you stop it? He looked across the yard. Because Whitney would have been angry. The table was already set. Her family expected those places. And I didn't? You did. He swallowed. I knew you did. The leaves moved above us. Somewhere down the street, a mower started. Nathan said, I kept choosing whoever was hardest to disappoint. That wasn't me. No. Why? Because you stayed. He looked at me then. You always stayed. I put my glass on the porch. That was my mistake. No, it was mine. I treated your loyalty like permission. He took a breath. I was a coward. Whitney's decisions became normal because I kept refusing to disagree with her. That was the sentence I had needed, not because it repaired anything, because it named what he had done. He continued, "I'm sorry I approved the chart. I'm sorry I asked you to work. I'm sorry I used the guarantee without asking. What do you want from me?" "Nothing. Nothing. I want to keep making the payments. I want to visit if you allow it." "And Whitney?" "She has to decide what she's willing to admit. You can't do it for her, I know." He stood and collected both glasses. I let him wash them. In September, Whitney mailed me a thick envelope. I almost left it unopened. Inside were copies of the restaurant's corrected accounts. The unpaid invoice tasks I had handled were now assigned between the two owners. The patio expenses were listed separately. So were the cancellation charges. A repayment plan showed monthly payments against the existing balance. Both Nathan and Whitney had signed it. A short letter sat on top. "Ruth, these records are not a request for additional support. We have corrected the accounts and will continue the payments. I would like to speak when you are willing." She did not include an apology. That helped. She had sent the work first. I called her 2 days later. "You may come Saturday at 10. "Thank you." She arrived alone. Like Nathan, she knocked and waited. I invited her into the kitchen. She placed no papers on my table. She had already sent them. "I wasn't sure you'd call," she said. "I wasn't sure I would. That's fair." I poured coffee. She took hers without cream. For a minute, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "The accounts are current." I saw. "We're paying extra when we can." I saw that too. "Nathan does most of the invoices now. I checked them." "Good." She turned the mug between her hands. "I deleted the post because people were attacking the restaurant. I corrected what you wrote." "I know. Do you still believe I was wrong?" She looked down. "I believe you could have told us sooner. I gave Nathan a private conversation. He didn't tell me everything. That is between you and Nathan." She nodded slowly. "I also believe I used your work." I waited. "You made it easy," she said. Then she stopped herself. "No." That sounded like blame. It did. She took a breath. "You were reliable." I kept treating that as availability. When you objected, I described you as emotional because I didn't want to change the plan. That is accurate. I put my mother first. Yes, I thought you would accept whatever we arranged. Yes. Her eyes filled, but she did not ask me to comfort her. "I'm sorry," she said. I looked at the woman across from me. "I accept that you said it." Her face tightened. "That isn't forgiveness." "No." "What would forgiveness look like?" "I don't know yet." She nodded. "Are you ever going to guarantee the restaurant again?" "No." "Will you ever help with the accounts?" "No." She took those answers without arguing. That was her first test. The second came a month later. Whitney called and said, "Nathan and I would like to invite you to dinner at Millstone Table, Thursday at 6. No event, no work. Who chose the table?" "I did." "Who checked it?" "Nathan." I let the silence sit. She added, "You can say no." "Yes, I can." "Will you come?" "I'll come." When I arrived Thursday, they were waiting near the host desk. Nathan took my coat. Whitney led me to the table by the front window. One place card stood in the center setting, Ruth Graham. There were no cameras, no announcement, no printed thank you. Nathan sat across from me. Whitney sat beside him. A server brought menus. Nathan did not ask me to check the prices. Whitney did not ask me to greet anyone passing the table. We ate dinner. The conversation was careful. That was appropriate. Afterward, Nathan paid with his own card. I left the tip. At the door, Whitney asked, "May we invite you again? You may ask." She accepted that answer. The monthly statements continued through autumn. So did the payments. Nathan visited twice without needing anything. Whitney called once before using an old restaurant photograph that included me. I said no. She chose another picture. Consent became ordinary through repetition. Not perfect, ordinary. In November, I invited them to supper at my house. I made roast chicken, carrots, and potatoes. Nathan arrived with bread. Whitney brought tulips. Neither entered until I opened the door. Nathan carried the plates from the cupboard. "How many?" he asked. "3. Whitney unfolded the napkins. "Where would you like us?" "Set them at the table." I went to the hallway closet. The lockbox remained behind Walter's boots. I carried it to the kitchen and opened it. The original guarantee lay in the brown folder. The monthly statements rested behind it. The balance was still mine to watch until the final payment, but no new advance could enter through my name. Nathan placed my plate at the end of the table. Whitney set a fork beside it. I closed the bank acknowledgement inside my lockbox, then sat at the head of my own table while Nathan and Whitney set the places for supper.